Sarah?
For what?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Irvington Planning Board meeting of May 1st, 2024. I'd like to introduce the people from the village that are here. We have Sarah Palermo, who'll be handling the Zoom calls. Ed Marin is the building inspector. Douglas Hahn is the consultant engineer. Mary Ann Stessage is the village attorney. And on the board, we have Marty Davidowitz, Dan McGillicott, I'm Caesar Manfredi, the chairman, Mike Smith, and Mike Pofoco. The lineup for this evening will be number 1, 37 Maple Street. Number 2, 39 Fargo Lane. Number 3, 4 Oak Street. Number 4, 1 Shady Lane. Number 5, 2 Roland Road. Let's see, where did number 6 go? Oh, here we go. Number 61 Field Terrace. Number 7, 9 Meadow Way. Number 8, 11 Dunham Place. Number 9, 255 Mountain Road. Number 10, 2 Heritage Hill Road. Number 11, 1 Deep Hollow Close. Number 12, 23 Park Road. Number 3, 2 Deep Hollow Close. And number 14, 8 West Sunnyside Lane. Okay, starting with number 1, we have 2024-8, 08, and it's 37 Maple Street.
You're here to represent the application. Can you please hit the raise hand button?
No, we didn't do the minutes yet. Oh, sorry. While we're looking for 37 Maple Street, somebody reminded me we didn't do the minutes. I'm starting to lose it. Mary Ann, you okay with the minutes of April 3rd, 2020?
Yeah, I edited them.
Anybody have any questions on the minutes of April 3rd, 2024? All right, I make a motion to approve the minutes of April 3rd, 2024.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. The minutes of April 3rd, 2024 have been approved. Okay, now we'll go on to 37 Maple. Thanks, Mike.
Hello? Hello, are you guys able to see me?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, my apologies. I'm stepping in for our architect tonight because he's on an airplane and I'm trying to watch my 2 children while I do this. So my apologies. So I'm here tonight I just want to make sure I'm getting this right.
Tell us who you are.
Oh, sorry. I'm Nathan Martin. I'm one of the homeowners of 37 Maple. With my wife, Heather. And then I'm here to present, I think this is a follow-up for the new 2-car garage that we had proposed. So to kind of, in a previous application, we proposed removing, we now propose removing the existing garage completely. And then creating a new 2-car garage that'll be placed behind the property, off the property line of the neighbors. It'll enable forward-facing exit from the driveway onto Maple Street and reduce the need for street parking. And then, it'll be 3 foot from the rear property line. And current garage is 1 foot.
Yes, so this was a interesting application. We rarely, if ever, segment an application. You were here with everything, then we sent you
Yeah,
improvements on the house so you could move in. And we didn't.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
The garage, and so we segmented that out. And you came back and thank you for looking at the issues with the original location and moving it to where you did. And I understand you went to the ZBA and you got the variances for the new garage location. So any comments from the board?
No comment.
I have no questions.
No questions. Nothing for me.
Sarah, is there any comment from the public?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak and there were no comments in the chat.
Okay, we believe we have a resolution to approve this today, and again, I thank you for the effort moving things around to accommodate the neighbor and the wishes of this board. Mary Ann, you have the resolution?
Yeah, whereas in March 2024, Nathan and Heather Martin applied for site development plan approval to construct a two-car garage, patio, and related improvements on the property at 37 Maple Street, which is located in the View Preservation District. And whereas the proposed coverage exceeds what's permitted, but a coverage variance was granted by the Zoning Board of Appeals on March 26, 2024. Han Engineering reviewed the plans and in a memorandum dated March 4th listed a number of issues, most of which were addressed in a subsequent submission. And Suzanne Nolan, the village's landscape consultant, reviewed the plans and made several comments, most of which were addressed in a subsequent submission. The Planning Board held a public hearing on the application on March 6th and May 1st. The proposed improvements would not negatively impact the view of the Hudson River from neighboring properties. It's type 2 action under SEQRA and therefore requires no environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved, the Planning Board grants the application for site development plan approval of the improvements reflected in the drawings entitled Martin Residence prepared by Spearman Architectural Design. And the sheets are specified subject to 1, complying with Han's April 29th, 2024 memorandum, and 2, submitting a tree removal schedule showing the 3 trees approved to be removed.
Okay, thank you, Mary Ann. Make a motion to approve the resolution as read.
Second.
Anybody in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Yes.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? None opposed. Okay. Thank you very much again and enjoy your new home and.
Thank you so
garage.
much. I really appreciate all of the effort. I mean, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. We're, if you can deal with Con Edison, it'd be another plus.
I can't recall segmenting the project into 2 separate.
Yeah, we're getting there. I appreciate it. Thanks all. Have a nice night.
All right, take care. Number 2. That's 2024-06. That would be 39 Fargo Lane. Hey, John.
Hello, John Malone, Ferguson Malone Architecture, representing Vanessa and Diego Sanchez at 39 Fargo Lane. We made some modifications based on comments that we received at the last meeting. We added a note about the power pole that is proposed. The front yard, we revised the planting for the plant to make the plantings all native. To address comments of the neighbors, we've made some additional modifications to the house. We've lowered the elevation of the overall house by an additional 6 inches. And we modified the south end of the house to reduce impact on the one neighbor, Mr. Hernandez, at 19. In addition to that, sorry.
What was you did at the south end?
I can share screen and show you the modifications. So in the primary bedroom on the south end of the building, show you quickly. We modified this area here. You can see to pull in, the goal was to pull in this outside corner here, because this is the corner that had the impact that Mr. Hernandez was still concerned about. We pulled this corner in, and in order to revise the design to make it make sense, there's a volume that holds the chimney on the lower level. And so we made a change up there. We pulled that in by 18 inches, and we also pulled in the lower level by 18 inches. The change in design was to reintroduce this configuration here. Where is it now? This volume stayed where it was, but the corner that was sticking out here was taken out of the building. So that had an impact on the visual impact study, which we have shown here. To that sheet quickly. So, you'll see here where we were at the last, the original submission is shown in orange. The reduction that we did for the next submission is shown in pink. And then where we are right now is the green submission. So the effect of pulling in that corner is the move from pink to green, if you can see that in the area of concern. And the blue line, the light blue, the cyan line is the previously approved project. So we did that modification, that change, the reduction of 6 inches also affected the other neighbors in a positive way. So you see here from the central position, another drop of 6 inches in that area from a pink to green. And then in the third position as well, another drop to increase the amount of water that is shown from pink to green there. So that's the change that we made to the building, the 2 changes that we made to the building. And then in addition, we removed some additional trees at the request of Mr. Hernandez that were non-native species that were in fair to poor condition. And we mitigated those removals with some additional trees that are shown here. We've added these black gum trees that are shown here.
And to be clear, the board agreed with the with removing those trees because our landscape, the village landscape architect agreed the 2 trees to be removed were in poor shape.
Right, and they were not native trees. They were non-native trees, and they were in poor shape. So one was in fair, but the other one was in poor.
Okay, thank you. Keep going.
So that's the limits of the changes that we've made. And again, I think the other thing that was mentioned is just the note associated with the utility pole is shown both on the civil and on the architectural, indicating that there's going to be no equipment on that pole.
Where is it going to be?
It's shown in the same location, which is this location here, corner. And then
That's the equipment go.
oh, the equipment will be in the basement of the house. So the electrical line is running from the pole to the basement of the house, and the meter and the service will be inside the house.
There's no intermittent pole between the street pole and the house.
No, there's no need for that.
Okay. John, what was the overall change from day one? After the first meeting, you did some changes, and then we had the next meeting and came back with these changes.
I believe from an overall, it's best shown in these diagrams here, and I think we could focus potentially on this one. So the initial is the orange. So the orange line, we eliminated the chimney function from the orange when we went to the pink, and then we also set the building back into the hillside, reduced the width of the building, and moved it further to the north. That was from the orange to the red, and dropped the building. The building looks like it's in the same height from this position because it was also moved back as it was dropped, so it's having the same impact because it's that position. And then this last revision was dropping in an additional 6 inches. So I think that the total that it's been reduced is about 18 inches down. And then the overall width of the building hasn't changed, but the primary suite on the south end has been modified by an additional 18 inches.
What do you mean by an additional 18 inches?
The portion here between the pink and the green, the mass of the building was reduced by 18 inches. The master closet and the master bath were moved to the north, reducing the size of the primary suite main room by 6 inches and reducing the bathroom and the closet by 12 inches.
When you said the addition of 18 inches, It didn't sound right, so, okay.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay, anything else, John, you'd like to add?
No, not unless you guys have additional questions.
Let's ask the board.
No question.
I have no.
I don't have any, but Mike Smith.
So, John, I had read the transcript of last time because I wasn't here, but I had thought that for the last meeting, you had reduced the height by 16 inches, and now there was an additional lowering of 6 inches, which would have lowered this height by 22. Yeah,
I'm
you
sorry, Mike, that's accurate. That I was inaccurate on that. I just looked at the notes now. It was 16 and then an additional 6.
Okay, so the total is 22.
Right,
Okay,
sorry.
We needed a lawyer to add up the numbers that an architect and the engineer couldn't.
I have no further questions.
Mike Bufuco.
No questions for me.
Sarah, anything on Zoom?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak, and there are no comments in the chat.
Is there anyone in the audience who may wish to speak?
No.
I should have made note that Mr. Crook and Mr. Hernandez submitted additional letters for this meeting. In addition to their previous letters, and the whole board got them and you read them.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody read them. Okay. Go ahead.
I just like to ask what all the statements. Clear what we're doing.
John, did you hear the question?
I'm sorry, I can't hear what was said.
Ceiling.
Is he asking what the ceiling heights are?
Yes.
It is.
I have to look at the drawings to confirm, make sure I'm not misspeaking.
We had the trouble with that. But
Yeah. That's it. Why don't you come up closer to there? So. That's fine.
shut up.
The second floor ceiling is 8'8". The first floor ceiling in the dining room and kitchen is 8'8", and in the main living room area it is 10 feet.
So again.
Just speak up. It'll be.
So I'd only like to read one paragraph into the minutes of my letter, and thank you all for reading it. Because this is truly what I would like to emphasize, I guess even before reading it. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask that what I consider regular ceiling heights be in this structure. It's the design of the structure. It's soft, not a full ceiling height. It's not, it doesn't have some grand entrance with requiring an elevated ceiling or has an open ceiling. You know, to be honest with you, we don't really know. There's a resident building this or developer building this. And what we're looking at is the residents of the village have wonderful views of the world, but are basically this two-story structure where a one-story structure existed. One-story structure did not enable what's good blackout, except in fact that perhaps the one-story structure is no longer it's like everything to the position of the world. Except the fact that if this two-story structure has to be here, it needs to be as low as possible. I understand why it's more desirable to have higher ceilings if you're building a house. But you know, this house doesn't exist yet. And what's really desirable to someone building a tower road it shouldn't trump preservation of our view. We're longstanding residents of the village. We already live in the village. This person or developer or whatever it is, live in the village. It's just absolutely critical on the height of this, because if you look at the lane, it extends both the north and south, across most of the entirety of the lot. It takes away, the river runs north-south. So the orientation of the structure basically takes away the river in proportion to how high it is. And, you know, I keep emphasizing this because I think it's the simplest concept I own when it really will work. And it is really, and I find it really irresistible. The only thing that argues against lowering the heights of the ceilings anymore is that, yes, maybe it's more desirable for the either the resident or developer. I don't think that should be relevant. And if the view preservation zone, where you're taking away 3 existing views in order to give a view to a structure that doesn't exist and a resident who doesn't even live in the village. So I don't have to read my paragraph because I just thank you. But
Well, I'm not sure who's gonna live there, but it's not a function of what we review as to who's gonna live there.
We do know who's gonna live there. It's the owner, Vanessa and Diego Sanchez. Who we're
Well, it's
talking about.
not a factor of the
Right.
planning board who's gonna live there. Before you speak, any comments on,
No comment.
Dan?
I have no comments.
Mike,
No comment.
Mike?
Nothing. Alex Hernandez, 19 Meadowbrook Road. You've said you've received the letter and read my letter. I'm just here because I can't seem to reconcile, as you step through the letter that I submitted, why there aren't modifications being made and why the planning board isn't supporting me and my family and trying to preserve this view. It seems so plain as day that there are things that can be done, and there's arguments supporting a modification of the structure so as to remove this component that is in my most impacted, like my most valuable view, right? And I guess that's really it. I'm just here asking for support from the board to, you know, to basically tell the applicant that they need to move this small piece of structure from this primary location of view. And there's plenty of opportunity to do it. And I don't feel like it's reasonable to ask me to suffer and my family to suffer this loss of view in this location, given the circumstances of this application. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
You're gonna ask if we have any?
Yeah.
Right?
I'm gonna speak first.
Okay.
Now I forgot what I was gonna say. You have to understand that there's someone who's gonna build a house. And I think the architect and the compromise, some of the compromise that his clients have made to lower the house, like, I believe you said, about 22 inches. And your side of the property, like 18 inches. And it's still their house, so we have to, I mean, they have rights too. I mean, and it doesn't matter who's gonna live there. It's still a house in Irvington.
I've never made that argument, right? And I've also,
Well, it was an emphasis on the previous speaker.
No.
Dan?
Nothing at this point. So John, could you pull up the wire diagrams? The one where you showed us pink to green.
These are the wire diagrams from the Hernandez view that we're studying. So again,
Okay. Yeah, now, maybe Mr. Hernandez may need a different diagram, but what I would appreciate is knowing, you said something small could be done that would improve the view from your property. And so I'm wondering what is, and I think it's the bottom one that I'm most interested in.
Yeah.
So what is it that you would suggest be done
You need the microphone.
that
Just to go with you.
that,
Well, so I've been told by, may I speak? I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
yeah.
So, I've been told not to redesign the house multiple times, so I don't want to, right? I'm just pointing out that there's a different envelope where this right here is not there. Right? Like there's plenty of coverage, there's plenty of area to move things. This mass can be readjusted because of the style of home that it is. So, you can take this. And again, I don't want to redesign the house, but there's no reason that this couldn't be shifted. This section couldn't be shifted back. This section couldn't be moved over there. I don't get it, right? Like it's.
What I'm trying to visualize
Yeah.
is which part of the view would you claim
Mhm.
could be reclaimed by shifting
That upper corner there.
Yeah,
the house? That's what I'm trying to
I
visualize.
previously submitted a visual impact analysis with a green square around it in one of the prior submissions,
So
and it was essentially this right here.
At the rec, he was pointing to the
Right here.
south, upper floor.
So from that, basically from where the green line is down to where the tree branch is? That
From
the
where-
square that you're
Yeah, it's essentially right there.
right there.
That's it.
I got it.
And I shut up.
Anything else?
No.
Mike LaFuco,
Nothing for me.
anything further from Zoom based on the presentations we've heard?
No.
Mike, you okay? Get this the way it is?
Yep.
Mike LaFuco, you okay?
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm okay.
Lori?
Yeah.
Any other questions from anybody here on the board? Mary Ann, you have a resolution for approval?
Whereas in February 2024, Devolo Realty applied for site development plan approval to remove the existing one-story house and construct a new two-story house, pergola, and related improvements at 39 Fargo Lane, which is located in the View Preservation Overlay District. And where several neighboring property owners wrote letters and appeared at the planning board hearing on February 7th to urge the planning board to require modifications to the proposed house in order to reduce the obstruction of their view of the Hudson River. And was the applicant submitted revised plans for the April 3rd hearing that included several modifications, including setting the house 5 feet further back on the lot, lowering the elevation of the house by 1 foot, reducing the second floor ceiling by 4 inches, eliminating the chimney, and reducing the north-south length of the house by 10 inches. And whereas the neighboring property owners wrote letters and appeared at the April 3rd, 2024 meeting to urge further modifications in order to minimize their obstruction of the view of the Hudson. And whereas the applicant submitted revised plans for the May 1st, 2024 meeting, which further reduced the building height by 6 inches and modify the southwest and southeast corners of the house, and as one of the neighbors requested, remove 2 trees which are potentially invasive and in either fair or poor condition. And whereas for each of its submissions, the applicant submitted visual impact studies demonstrating the view impacts and comparing them to previous renditions of the project. Han Engineering reviewed the plans and in memoranda dated February 2nd and April 1st, 2024 listed a number of items which were addressed in subsequent submissions. Suzanne Nolan, the village's landscape consultant, reviewed the plans and in memoranda dated February 5th and April 1st, 2024 made 2 recommendations which were addressed to her satisfaction. Planning board held a public hearing on application on February 7th, April 3rd, and May 1st, 2024. And whereas the planning board considers it significant that the proposed house is well within the coverage, FAR setback and height requirements of the zoning code, that its FAR is only 57% of what the zoning code permits, and that the total height is 12.5 feet lower than the code permits. And whereas the proposed house is modified throughout the planning board review process is cited and configured so as to cause the least reasonably possible obstruction of the Hudson River for neighboring properties. And whereas the action is type 2 action under secret, therefore requires no environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board grants the application for site development plan approval of the improvements reflected in the drawings entitled Sanchez Residence prepared by Ferguson Malone Architecture, and those are specified in the drawings entitled Proposed Single Family Dwelling 39 Fargo Lane prepared by Hudson Engineering Consulting, and those are specified, and there's no conditions.
Okay, thank you very much. And on the board, any questions on the resolution from the board?
No.
Make a motion to approve the resolution as read. We have a vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
And I'd like the participating citizens who lived on Meadow Way. And you got a little bit of what you wanted, but we had to measure what the owner, he owns the land and he wants to build a house. And he was kind enough to make some changes with, you know, how much it hurt him to make those changes, but he did. So thank you for your participation. John, thank you. Thank the owner for accommodating some of the work that you did.
I will. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Well, you're on anyway, John. No, number 3, 2023-37. That's 4 Oak Street.
John Malone, Ferguson Malone Architecture, representing Josh and Danielle Cooper at 4 Oak Street. This project was referred to the zoning board for variances for FAR and setbacks in the front yard and in the side yard. We received all of those variances, and we haven't made any additional changes from what the board had seen last time, but I can answer any questions if you want.
There was a letter from the neighbor regarding noise resistant fence in regard to the air conditioner that was moved from the side, well, one side to the other side.
Right.
And see what you can do with that. I mean, we're not asking for anything because that's.
Well, we did do some analysis and we provided a specification for the unit. So the unit has been shown to the planning board here. So the unit has a dB level, basically a sound level at 3 feet away from the unit of 55 decibels when it's running at its highest volume. It's a variable speed unit, so it will only run at that when it's in its highest level. And then the way that decibel system works, everybody on the board I'm sure knows it's exponential. So if you're measured at 3 feet away, then if you double that distance 6 feet from the unit, you'll have a dB level that drops 6 dBs. And then if you double that again to 12 feet, you'll have a dB level that drops another 6 degrees. And then if you double that again, another 6 degrees. So we've calculated that the volume of the unit at its highest level is 37 dB. This is before you factor in anything that might be blocking that, which would be plants and the fence that we have in place. Just taking a quick look, I can share a screen, a quick look at what a sound scale looks like for that property or for any property. Basically, 55 dB where the thing is when you're 3 feet away from it is normal conversation level. When you reduce it to the level that will be at the building, it will be at quiet bedroom level between 30 and 40, about 37 dB. And if you assume that this unit will be running most typically only when the windows in the house are closed, and you could assume that that same condition would be the case at the neighbors, that their windows, so if it's hot and their AC is on, it's most likely the time when it's hot and this other family's AC will be on. So a single pane piece of glass, a single pane window has a dB reduction effect of between 20 and 30, and a double pane glass has one of 35. So it effectively, at the house, we expect that there would be really no impact from this unit because it's a very quiet unit to start with. We think that doing a soundproof fence in here is really, not appropriate and doesn't really make sense and won't really have any impact. Also, I just wanted to point out that the owners have a HVAC condenser unit in the same location of, of their house and in the same setback. So any noise associated with this would be certainly overwhelmed by the condenser that's close to their house, and that would be what you would hear from in the house, either with the windows open, but we would assume with the windows closed, because that would be running at that time. So
Okay,
that would be our argument for not addressing that.
Okay, thank you for the analysis, John. Ed and Doug, you guys okay with that?
So the code says, and if we get a complaint, we will check it, that the decibel level shall be not more than greater than 45 decibels between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. And if there's a complaint, we will check that. Okay.
And then analysis meets that.
The analysis does not meet that. He said by that property line is 60.
Oh, at property line.
Oh, no.
No, he said the house is 37. So anyway, you are responsible to make sure that before that unit is turned on, that it's 45 decibels from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. at the property line. That is yours.
It will be below that. It will be.
And that's forewarned.
Yes, yeah, it will be below that.
Okay. Sarah, anything from the public on Zoom?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak and there are no comments in the chat.
Anybody in person?
No.
Anybody on the board? Lori?
No questions.
Anthony,
No questions.
Mike Zafuco?
No questions.
All right, John, you heard Ed on the decibels, so be aware.
Yep.
Mary Ann, you have a resolution?
Whereas in December 2023, Danielle and Joshua Cooper applied for site development plan approval to construct a two-story addition to their house at 4 Oak Street, which is located in the View Preservation District. And whereas the proposed construction would require variances for coverage FAR and incursions into the front yard and rear yard setbacks. And whereas this adjoining property owners wrote to the planning board to inform it that in 2004, the Irvington Zoning Board of Appeals had denied requests for variances for an addition in the same location. And whereas prior to the February 2024 meeting, applicants revised their proposal to eliminate some of the space on the second floor, resulting in reducing the ridge height of the proposed addition, eliminating the roof dormers, and reducing FAR by 261 square feet. And whereas the planning board referred the application to the ZBA for its decision on the variances. And whereas on March 26th, the ZBA granted the applicants for variances for coverage FAR encroachment into the front yard and side yard setbacks. And whereas Han Engineering reviewed the plans and in memoranda dated December 4th and December 29th, 2023 and February 5th of this year listed a number of issues, all of which were addressed in a subsequent submission. Suzanne Nolan, the village's landscape consultant, reviewed the plans and made several comments which were addressed in subsequent submissions. Planning board held a public hearing on the application on December 6, 2023, January 3rd, February 7th, and May 1 of this year. And was the proposed improvements would not negatively impact the view of the Hudson River from neighboring properties. What's a type 2 action under SEQA and therefore requires no environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board grants the application for site development plan approval of the improvements reflected in the drawings entitled Cooper Residence prepared by Ferguson Malone Architecture, and those are specified, and there's no condition.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Make any questions on the resolution at the board? I make a motion to approve the resolution as read.
Second.
Do we have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Okay, John, thank you. Thank you for making the adjustments from the first application to the slightly lowering and moving it so it's not a big wall there. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And
I'll let
thank
the clients know.
Thank the applicant for adjusting what they wanted to something that is more favorable to the neighbor.
Yes, I'll let them know. Thank you, Susie.
All right, that was number 3. Number 4 is 2023-06, 1 Shady Lane.
John Maloney.
Thank-
Ferguson Malone Architecture, representing Stacy Cervella and Neil Marr. This is a project that was approved recently by the board. It's a request for a revision. As we're going into construction, there was a change that the owner wanted us to consider. So the change is, I can share screen quickly. The proposed project, if you see here, this is the existing conditions. Oh, God, I wanted to zoom a different way. I'm sorry, guys. This is the existing condition of the property, and there is an old agricultural building that was a two-story building that is in this location here. It goes past the front yard setback. And we believe it was built approximately the same time as the existing house, but it may have preceded it. So we are rebuilding a small outbuilding in the same footprint as this building currently, and that was what was approved. And the owner would like us to consider, or will like to ask to rotate that building slightly so that it could be at a 90-degree angle to the house. So the implication of that is that this 26.68 setback to the front yard gets revised. So with the rotated building as proposed here, you'll see that this is reduced, this front yard setback. We don't believe that it has an impact on the neighborhood. It will have any negative impact, but we do believe that there's a potential positive impact to the layout in the long term, to have those buildings have that sympathetic relationship to one another. We can't move this building back this way without affecting a very old Japanese maple, which is really one of the most important and protected trees on the site. So the goal is basically this corner here has been held in place, and the building has just been rotated slightly to make a perpendicular courtyard in this area.
Okay. There's no desire to make the building smaller, so you're not in the front yard setback.
The building is really quite compact in terms of how it meets its program. There's not a lot of extra room in the building in terms of how it functions. It's a small building, so no, we hadn't discussed modifying the design at this point.
All right, just to be noted for the record that Mike Smith is recused on this property. Any comment on Zoom?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak, and there are no comments in the chat. No comment.
No comments.
No question.
Mike Mafuco, not Mike Smith, he's recused, and I had no comment. Okay, Mary Ann, do we have a resolution for this?
Whereas on March 1st, 2023, the planning board granted site development plan approval to Stacy Charavella and Neil Marr to construct an accessory structure at their house at 1 Shady Lane, subject to receiving variances from the zoning board of appeals for the structure being in the front yard setback and closer to the street than the primary building. And whereas the ZBA granted the variances on March 21st, 2023, and whereas in May 2024, the applicants applied for a revision to the approved plan to rotate the accessory structure, causing it to intrude further into the front yard setback. On engineering reviewed the revised plan and found no issues with it. Planning board held a public hearing on the application on May 1st. The action is type 2 action under secret and therefore requires no environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board grants the application for revised site development plan approval as shown in the drawing entitled Charavella Marr Residence prepared by Ferguson Malone Architecture, subject to receiving a variance from the ZBA for further incursion into the front yard setback.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Any questions from the board on the resolution?
No.
I make a motion to approve the resolution as read. We have a vote, yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. All in favor, aye. None opposed, none opposed? None opposed. Okay. Thanks, John.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Are we rid of you for the night? No.
I think so. I think that's it. Thank you.
All right, moving right along to number 5. We are at 2024-10. That's 2 Roland Road.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Matt Behrens. I'm here to represent the application for Chris and Kim Hogan, 2 Roland Road. This is an application to legalize an existing pool patio and also for a new driveway extension. I'll share my screen. So we presented this last month. The planning board had a few comments, I think mostly related to the existing previously approved patio, which is now shown. It was about 646 square feet based on the documentation that we were able to glean, and now indicating the existing undocumented pool patio expansion of 460 square feet. There were some comments from Han Engineering related to drainage for the proposed driveway. We will engineer the drainage system once we get the, hopefully if we get the zoning board approval for the increase in coverage. This is, again, it's an existing condition that predates the current owner. We are trying to get legalization for this expansion that occurred under a previous application by the previous owner. And the driveway extension is really a convenience for getting in and out of this parking area that is on the east side of the residence and out onto Roland Road. All of the materials for the driveway expansion will match what's existing, which are concrete pavers with Belgian block curbs.
Okay, thank you. Just a note that a previous owner installing stuff without approval is not a rubber stamp for this board with a new owner.
Understood.
Just to legalize. So we're okay with holding off on the drainage pending what the ZBA says about the rather, it's a big lot, but it's a rather high coverage situation that would let the ZBA go first on the coverage because it is an issue. And if they approve it, you can come back with what for the drainage, which we're okay with not spending the money on drainage if you're not going to get approval for the other coverage.
Agreed. Thank you.
Dinner. Lori, getting a brain block on your first name, Lori.
No
Ken.
comments.
Mike Smith,
No question.
Michael Fuco,
No questions.
Sarah, anything from the public?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak and there are no comments in the chat.
Okay. Have a good meeting with the ZBA. And if we see you, come back with the drainage. And remember, I'd like to see the topo and an elevation profile, because there is a neighbor and he's sort of downhill from the slope on that east side.
Yeah, Caesar, the topos were submitted. I think he's, I can flip to that page, but they're submitted.
Do it next time.
Yep, and I understand that area on the east side. We will certainly mitigate that slope and the drainage on that area for sure.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good to inundate additional water in the new driveway downhill to the neighbor.
Agreed.
Okay?
Yep,
Thank
understood.
Now, moving right along, that was 5, we're going to number 6. 2024-03, 61 Field Terrace.
One sec, folks, just getting the camera going. Apologies. Oh, there we go. Good evening, folks. I'm Mike Jacobs. I'm here with Jacobs Chang Architecture on behalf of the owners at 61 Field Terrace. We're here. This is a follow-up meeting for an application for some changes to the exterior of the house or the landscape. And I will share a screen, jump right into it. We were here, of course, at the previous meeting in April. Sorry, one sec. We were here at the previous meeting, and I think hopefully have addressed some of the concerns that were voiced and expressed by both the board as well as the town engineer and the landscape consultant. So here we are. Since the last meeting, we've addressed some of the comments that came from, back to us in April. I think the biggest, perhaps the biggest sticking point, if I'm going to speculate, is the development coverage calculation. So I'll come to that, but essentially there were other concerns about with the proposed parking in the front yard setback that we're providing adequate screening through landscaping. And what we've proposed here with the help of the landscape consultant is screening that would be positioned here to the west of the parking area. That would be in addition to what's already on the neighboring property as a kind of fail-safe. And in doing that, making sure that we're protecting the trees that are already existing there with some tree protection. Some of the other comments.
Excuse me, but for some reason I didn't see your cursor or.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know, to be honest with you, I have this Verizon feed at my house and it's awful. So there's something going on tonight and I apologize.
It's a good
just to the left of the parking area, there are 3 trees. I'll try and zoom in here. T6, T7, and T8.
That's what I thought you meant. Okay.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, the trees here are going to have tree protection barriers installed. And this area right here will be a kind of landscape screen. The cars, of course, will park facing north. So the headlights really are if at all an issue, they would be an issue if you back up and kind of turn back down the driveway. Of course, that's no different from what's there currently, which is kind of a big traffic circle that brings you under the carport and around kind of in a sweeping circle that we're hoping to remove. So hopefully that will satisfy the concerns of the board and of course the landscape consultant.
Yes, we're always looking to improve an existing condition that may not be fair.
Of course. Yeah, no, of course.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah, I'm happy to walk you through some of the development coverage calcs if you would like. For I think as we were wrapping up, last week. Not necessary. Okay.
Ed and Doug, you're happy with the calculations? They're accurate.
Yes.
All right. I had asked if you could work on a reduction a little bit because it is rather high.
Yeah.
But I don't think you need any reductions. Is that accurate?
We did reduce. I'll be honest with you. We did try and skinny down. There's a pea gravel patio that we're proposing to the north of the house on the north side. We reduced that by 30 square feet. It's not a lot. It's something. I do recognize that was a request as we were signing off last time. And, you know, not to be redundant, but I think because of the definitions and the idea of lot coverage, impermeable ground in the village of Irvington, we have, in fact, through this proposal, reduced permeable coverage by almost 3,000 square feet, even after these requests are made. So I think it's almost, I think, 2,800 plus square feet that we're reducing of paved surfaces off of this property. And for what it's worth, I also spent a little time just reviewing the comprehensive plan for the village. I know this doesn't really apply to residential properties. I don't really understand the backstory there, but there is language in the comp plan that does suggest that we should be all trying to make an effort to reduce permeable surfaces on properties in the village. So I do feel like in the spirit of that comp plan, we are achieving that, even though we are over our development coverage.
That reduction in impervious was mostly driveway, which is not considered coverage. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll let the ZBA decide. It is rather high and we'd rather see you go to the ZBA and get the clearance and then come back to us.
Okay.
Laurie?
Yeah.
Dan?
No questions.
Mike Smith?
That's fine with me.
Mike LaFuco?
Nothing for me.
Sarah, anything from Zoom?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak and there are no comments in the chat.
Okay, keep in mind your argument you made with the ZBA and we'll see what they have to say.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does this mean we have a conditional approval based on zoning?
You have
variance?
no approval until you come back and then we give you approval.
Okay, so the next step is zoning board. And do we come back after architectural review board or after zoning board?
Go to zoning board first. If you receive zoning board approval, you come back to planning board. If you receive planning board approval after zoning board, you go to ARB.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're leaving here without a negative comment, so think of it in the good terms.
I understand. Thank you.
And the chairman of the architect review board is sitting here, so he's saying no, so I'm only kidding.
Great. Okay, thanks. Thanks. Good night, folks.
All right. Thank you. Good night. Number 7 is 2023-29, 9 Meadow Way.
Hi, good evening. James Krapp representing for Lauren and Dan at 9 Meadow Way. I don't want to take up a lot of the board's time this evening. I just wanted to acknowledge that there are a couple minor outstanding comments that we need to address and that we've been working with Ed and Doug to clarify those. I wanted to say thanks to Ed and Doug for working with us over the last several months to try to clarify things. So I'm not going to present anything at this time, but between these two applications, we hope to come back to you in a couple weeks so that we can proceed forward. We think we can gain resolution by clarifying items offline. So just wanted to.
I need to make comment on this, that there were 4 previous meetings, which at the end of each of those 4 meetings, we requested that you sit down with Ed and Doug and work out the details that would comply with the floodplain requirements that are already there. And we're still, because this is not the forum to work out the engineering, architectural, and the type of things. Better to do that offline. So I hope next time we have that settled. And I mean, there's a lot of issues. The floodplain approvals are as rare as hen's teeth. I don't recall giving one other than one where the extension of the home was built on stilts. And it's a liability because DEC does a review every 3 years. It's a liability because if there's flooding downstream and we approve something that's not correct, it's a liability to the village. And it's also a liability to the general public because if DEC finds fault with the village, they report it to the federal government and flood insurance becomes in jeopardy for all homeowners that need flood insurance because we didn't follow the floodplain rules. So there's a lot of significance in making sure this is right. So I hope you appreciate it. Okay.
Yeah, and we have been working with Ed and Doug and we appreciate the concerns. So we are doing that offline and each time we're getting closer and closer. So.
Okay, any comment from the board? Laurie?
No comment.
Dan?
None.
I have none. Mike?
Nothing further.
Mike, the other Mike's.
Nothing. Nothing for me.
You can be the other Mike.
Other Mike? Mike 2?
Sarah?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak and there are no comments in the chat.
Okay, don't go away. You're at 11.
Same.
2023-12, 11 Dunham Place. Reintroduce yourself and
James Kraft from Studio Park representing Erica and Jared at 11 Dunham. Very similar rodeo. Again, we've been working with Ed and Doug. So
we can say the same thing on this.
exactly. I don't want to waste your time this evening.
Okay. Well, thank you. And this one is a little more difficult because Doug, this is a floodway.
Yeah. And it is a variance.
And it needs a variance. And if I recollect the latest site plans, you don't have that parking area in the front yard anymore.
No, it's been removed 2 applications ago or
Thank
2
you.
revisions ago.
I
Yes.
saw that. I just wanted to make
Sure.
sure we're on the page. Okay, thank you. And I hope you could work out the calculations that are necessary to, we hope, meet the DEC and federal requirements for floodplain.
We are, and Ed and Doug are helping us to clarify each time we come back with something new, and we'll come back with something approvable next
Keep
month.
in mind, it's not the function of Ed and Doug to design this, so. you have
Understood.
to- Okay,
That's why I appreciate their help.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving right
a good
along to
evening.
number 9. Take care, and we'll see you hopefully next time when it's all worked out. The next one is number 9, 2023-07, 255 Mountain Road.
You're here to represent the application. Can you please hit the raise hand button?
Some reason he wasn't quite Danielle.
Really? I don't remember that from.
Hi, good evening. Jim Anicarico with Cronin Engineering, representing the record.
Your voice just went off, if you can hear me. The visual froze and your voice is done. If you can hear me.
Yeah.
Good. If you can see us, you're not on. Or you know what happens?
It's gotta be his connection.
Anybody else in the application? Gotta go back out. He's probably still walking.
I don't know if you can hear us, but maybe if you cut yourself back out and sort of pull the plug and put it back in. That's the height of my technical expertise.
Can you uninvite him, Sarah? I can just promote him back to an attendee. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah.
I think he needs to leave the Zoom meeting. and come back in.
And
Hey, we can't hear you. Can you shut it off, turn it back on? We can't hear you.
you're frozen in time.
Just turn your web browser off and turn it back on. I guess. No, got a call. Who doesn't want a phone call blocked in the middle of the time?
For the rest of everybody listening, the applicant on this proposal is having technical difficulty. We're just waiting for him to resolve his difficulties. That's why you're not hearing anything. Ed, if you can call him,
I just said,
I know, but you can call him and ask him if he has to do something drastic to fix whatever is wrong.
put 'em on line, I think.
We can go on to the next,
Or we need to get them off this.
but he needs to tell him to, get low. Get low.
So we can kick them off.
There we go.
Yeah, so,
Mhm.
okay, let's give him a chance. Did you try it? Okay, we'll give you 2 more minutes, and if it doesn't work, we'll put you on, we have 4 more cases, 5 more cases, and then we put you on at the end of that. All right. All right. He's almost done rebooting. I was just saying Verizon customer service, how many we told. That's the next figured out.
So we're in a waiting mode right now. We're
Yeah.
Somebody wasn't specific.
if the technical difficulties continue on 255 Mountain, we may notify him by phone that we'll move on until he fixes it and then come back, or if he can fix it. If he can't fix it, he could probably drive here.
I was just considering.
There he is. Let's see.
Okay.
Little partners.
Try again.
On mute.
Is it really?
You're back.
No, I think we're back to where we were,
Big rest.
the same frozen,
Oh,
There you go.
can you hear me?
Okay.
yeah.
Continue, Jim.
No.
Hello?
Jim, can you hear us?
I'll forget about I can hear you. Yeah, okay, there we go. Sorry about that. You hear me? All right.
Okay, we can even see you now.
No.
I'm frozen.
Yeah, I guess we'll forego the video for now if you can
Yeah, please.
Yeah, turn
just
off
hear me,
the
that's fine. Can you hear me?
Is the video going to expect a shared screen?
Start talking.
Yes, I think it does.
Yeah, it slows it down.
All right, turn off the video. Seems to be lagging. I have Verizon as well. All right, so I don't know how much you heard of that, but we essentially rerouted the sewer easement, the sewer services, the sewer force main services to avoid the buffer as much as possible. We're now crossing at a more of a 90-degree angle and avoiding the removal of any trees within that buffer. The other thing we did was we tried to straighten out the FAR and building coverage numbers that were in some of the charts. So to match the previous approval, the numbers in the previous resolution. So I think Doug, I just saw Doug's memo recently.
Wait, can I ask him something?
Wait,
Sure.
Jim, hold on a second. We're trying not to overtalk on other people. You may not have accomplished what you started out to do. Go ahead, Mary Ann.
No, I just want, Jim, are you saying that you did that in the submission we have now?
Yes. He did.
Yeah.
But he did.
Oh, okay.
So Jim, we need to do a little more work
It's
on
still
that.
off.
We need to meet
way
sooner
off.
than later on that.
Yes,
Yeah, Jim,
understood.
The rather restrictive numbers, and they're restrictive. They're more restrictive than what code allows because of the explanation that Mary Ann gave at last meeting with the consultant and so forth. And the charts on the plans are over the restrictive numbers in the resolution, which you were aware of, but you probably tried to fix it. But Doug and Ed reviewed it, and there's still numbers on the plans and charts in the plans that exceed the more restrictive numbers in the resolution. So seeking extension of the conditional final subdivision approval, we need to have those numbers correct with the restrictive numbers before we can say the plans are okay, because.
So, okay.
Okay,
Excuse me on that, they also should not say variance will be requested, because you can't get a variance. It's gonna be part of the subdivision approval.
I'll make sure you make that point clear to tell me.
We got that. When we sit down, we'll make sure of that.
There was something else that you had asked for, Mary Ann, about the easements.
I didn't get that.
Yes.
What was it?
Yeah, it's
Well,
my understanding. Oops, sorry.
There's well, there's a conservation easement and several other restrictions on the property that have to be in the declaration. And as you recall at the last meeting, the attorney Whitney said that he had, just sent them that afternoon or, the day before. I didn't get a chance to look at them. I looked at them soon after the meeting, made a number of changes, and I just got the revision back at 5 o'clock today, so I have not.
Okay, so, all right. But you're not sure if what was submitted is appropriate for the easements.
No, I didn't look at it.
Yeah, obviously. Okay. All right, and anything else you want to add, Jim? I mean, so you still got to do work. We're not going to do a revision, an extension is the correct
Right,
word. But
understood. I believe.
We could, when the numbers are correct, I mean, the sequence, correct me if I'm wrong, Mary Ann, is a conditional fixed subdivision. Conditional final subdivision is first, and there's conditions in that resolution. And if we can do that, if the conditions are met, on the same day, we can do a subdivision approval. If the conditions are met and demonstrated, that's correct.
And receives the variance.
But,
Renewal.
but first you have to get a variance. Variance for the site capacity, because as you know, the site capacity is less than what ordinarily would be 2.9? What was it?
2.88.
2.88 is less than 3. So you
Correct.
need not sure why, how it all happened, how many years ago, but it needs to re-happen to make sure, and that needs to happen before we do what we do.
Understood. And my,
You also, wait, you need the second variance. You need a variance for lot width. Yeah, I know you didn't have to get one last time, and that was, I don't know why that happened, but even under the cluster provisions, the lot width has to be 100 feet, and on lot 2, if you look at your chart, you've got the width of 52.8. And that's really a kind of a technical variance, because I see what you're doing is you're defining the lot width is the lot frontage, which is how it's done in the code. It says if there isn't any stated lot width, it should be the frontage. So that 52.8 makes it not wide enough, even though clearly the lot is wide enough. So when you're going to the zoning
right,
board,
the rest of the lot is very wide, right?
Right. So like I said, it's almost a technical variance, but as long as you have to go to the zoning board to get your site capacity variance extended, you should also get the variance for lot width.
Right. My plan is to submit by Monday's deadline date for those 2 things.
Okay, but we would like to see, we're not saying you can't go to the ZBA, but we would like to see the numbers in the plans, the charts and plans, to exactly reflect the restrictive numbers in the resolution. Because when the ZBA approves the plans for the width, say, it would be inappropriate. Someone might argue that in addition to the width being approved by the ZBA, that the other contents, the charts that are wrong currently, are also approved. And since the charts are wrong, I'd rather not
Understood.
have-
And I think, Marianne, if you think that this is okay. Okay. I mean, I would think that the best way to go about this, Marianne, would be that I only leave the site capacity information on the sheet that I'm going to the ZBA with. And I take any of the FAR and building coverage numbers and I put that on the zoning plan. That's more for you guys.
I think that makes sense. And also there's stuff on there that doesn't need to be, you know, like you have the dimensions for the standard 1F40, which is irrelevant because the only thing that's relevant are the standards for the cluster, you know, the 1F40 cluster.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think that was just what happened during the last submission, and that was the starting point. And I have a feeling,
It
I
needs to
have
be
a feeling a lot of that stuff got left on the plan at the end of the approval process, and it really probably should have been removed.
Right.
And you okay with them going to the ZBA without the numbers?
Give me
being-
that plan for Friday, so I can email me the plan you're submitting to ZBA Friday.
We can always
I'll send
Send it to Doug and I.
we
I'll
can
send it
always
to you.
send-
I'll send it to
Are
you
you-
tomorrow.
We can always send a note to the ZBA that the numbers in the charts should not be part of any approval they give if the numbers are incorrect.
I'd rather it hold on its own,
Okay,
because interpretation afterwards could be complicated.
well, that's why I didn't want them to go to the ZBA
Yeah,
and
but
take
taking
a
it off
notice.
the plan is an easier answer.
Okay, so, all
Having it right when it comes back to you is fine.
right, so what's the plan now? They're gonna give you,
Ari's gonna email me the plan. We're gonna tell him that's what we expect us to go to ZBA.
gonna give you a plan that reflects the resolution.
No, we're gonna
No,
take
we're
off
gonna
the
take
coverage and
those
FAR
charts.
issues
Oh,
off for the ZBA, and he'll correct it for next month's plan.
I see, okay. So what goes to the ZBA, there will be no mention of any numbers that are
For the
wrong.
FAR and coverage
So one cannot make the argument that it was
later on.
later. Okay. Okay, sounds like a plan. And if you do
Thank you.
all your home and you meet all the conditions of the conditional final subdivision approval, there could be an opportunity for us to do both in one night.
But can I just say one thing? That anything like these conservation easements have to come in at the, even though they're getting sent to me, it has to be by the deadline, by the planning board deadline. I can't get things 2 and 3 days before a meeting or the day of a meeting.
There was something else that my notes say, limited site plan approval. Where does-
Yeah, that was part. They had a resolution of conditional subdivision approval and limited site plan approval. That'll be part, eventually, that'll be.
That'll
one.
be that could conceivably be in the same night.
Yeah.
And what did I gotta do for that?
It's all, everything's in their plans. for
Okay.
that, Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. You got it.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
Well, you said it's Verizon, but you know, whatever. Okay, thank you. We'll see you next time. Number 10. Number 10 is 2020-06 2 Heritage Hill Road.
How many we're gonna put her last?
Looks like Patty.
Yep, and I assume that you can hear me?
Yeah.
That's good, I guess. And I will share a screen. And I will slideshow from the beginning.
Well, you gotta identify yourself, please.
Yes, Pat Steinschneider from Gotham Design, representing the Bins, who are the owners of 2 Heritage Hill Road. That's right next to Marshall's Pond. We were before you a couple of years ago on this application. We got approvals. We proceeded with construction. The garage we were working on the location of the garage. We came in for a revised site plan approval in 2022. That was granted. We've continued with construction. We're now effectively at the end with a number of loose items that need to get resolved. And that's why we're back before you tonight. We've submitted the as-built survey. I've worked back and forth with Ed to make sure we've got everything on that is supposed to be there. There's actually one thing that's still missing for TC Merits, but we have it on the site plan that we've submitted. The drawing that's up now is the site plan that we submitted to you for this meeting. In it, we identified items that were different from what was originally approved in the second round. The main issue here is the fact that some of these changes have increased site coverage, and we are above the site coverage which is permitted. We had gotten a variance before. We're over that number. So we need to address that and figure out how we're going to resolve it. I've broken that drawing that was just up into two pieces so that you can see what the different components are. The first doesn't have anything to do with increase in coverage, but we found that water was leaking out from the hillside from the footing drains and sheeting across the driveway, which could cause ice. So we put in additional Cultec units to pick that up. We might as well, get that all as part of what we're doing now, getting updated site plan approval. The retaining walls that are on the sides of the garage ended up being a little bit longer, which increased the coverage by 114 square feet. We also have a stoop at the base of the stairs, a stair landing in the back, which was an increase of 21 square feet. What I've done is I've provided pictures of each of those things. Also, the front steps originally were 3 steps, and now they're 4 steps, just to make things a little bit more accommodating at the site, walking up and down the stairs. So these are the 2 retaining walls that got longer, the stair landing that was added, and the additional steps in the front, each one with the square footage that's associated with it. Here is that the second part of all of that, where we increased number 4 is a landing that we expanded to go from the stairs to the basement, which increased coverage by 30 square feet. In the back, what's number 5, we redesigned the deck and we made it smaller. The stairs were smaller, but we still have a stoop at the base of the stairs, which is an increase of 21 square feet. And there's a little landing down here at the corner of the house where there's a gate that you come through, and that's another 21 square feet. And here, number 6 is where I think most of the discussion will take place. This incorporates 2 components. The first one's going to be a little difficult to explain. I'm going to try not to explain it too much. When we first started working on the house, on the north side of the house, around the back, there were a couple of slate pieces that were evident, and it looked like they were almost like stepping stones. When we started working on the house, at that part, which was only about 1.5 years ago, we discovered that actually what it was a slate, freestanding slate path, kind of a terrace basically, that allowed people to walk around the house to the back door, that had just gotten so overwhelmed with mud and leaves, you weren't really aware that it was there. So we've added that now to the plans. It's in the same location as it was before. It should have been on our plans when we first came before you. It consists of a slate sitting on dirt with a gravel base that runs around the house that keeps control of the water. That construction, the stone walk around the house was 389 square feet. The gravel that wraps around the house is another 80 square feet. And then the more interesting component is a hot tub that was installed on a gravel pad at the top of a hill. I'll show you pictures of this in a minute, with stone stairs that go up to it. The combination of that was 76 square feet for the stone steps, 72 square feet for the hot tub, and 138 square feet for the gravel pad. None of that has been approved or submitted previously. I mean, we've submitted for now, but none of that was seen previously, although it was installed. So here's kind of showing different things. Here's the stair landing that connects from the stairs to the stairs that go down the stair to the basement. That's 30 square feet. The gravel that wraps around the house is another 80 square feet. Here's the stair landing at the little deck area that's on the back. That's another 21 square feet. And then the strange little landing that's where originally what it was, it's really not strange. It was supposed to be, the stairs originally were going to come down off the end, and this was going to be the landing for that. So that got built, and the stairs got changed to be on the back. And so all that moved around. The net of the stairs and the deck was a reduction in coverage, but I'm still treating anything that was new as a plus. And then here's the stone walk around at the house. You see the slate that's been all reset coming around, the gravel that's alongside the house. You see that coming around all the way to the back, and here's where the end of that is. And then you get the gravel that kind of wraps around the house. All of this stone was the way the way you're seeing it now was the way it was when we first dealt with the house. So none of that is new. These stone stairs that you see coming up from the terrace, those are new, and those go up to the hot tub. So you see the stone steps at 86 square feet. You've got the gravel pad that the hot tub is sitting on, which is 138 square feet. And then the hot tub itself, which is 72 square feet. The building department has made it clear that to have this hot tub now, since it may have been installed before the code changed, but that doesn't mean it's legal. We have to meet the current standards, and that means we're going to have to add a fence. So we've submitted drawings to you which show a fence around this that has lockable gates, even though this does have a lockable cover. My understanding is that it has to have both at this point. This is the drawings that we submitted for that. I'm almost done. The fence that we're proposing around it. And then we get into the tabulations of all of those numbers. This basically, here's the stone walk around the house shown on what was the original coverage with its 389 square feet. With anything that's in red is something that's changed. Here's the proposed coverage plan showing what's existing plus what we've added. So it increases it to 6,813 square feet, where we were previously proposed 6,047. That was what was approved. We don't need to really look at these, other than the changes that we've made are the ones that are in red. And everything else, the deck, the design of the house is what was approved. With this deck got changed. So that was done. But everything else on it was the same as what was approved. Here's the stoop for the back of the garage. And then here's our application data sheet. You see approved in May 2022, it was 6,047. As built, it is 6,813. And here's just a summary of that. You can kind of see the impacts of the different components. You've got what was originally approved, the 6,000, or approved in May 2022, a 6,047. Currently proposed is 6,813. 469 square feet of that is the stone terrace wrapping around the house with the gravel. If I subtract that, I get to 6,344. I'm only doing this to show a comparison of where we are with everything else. If I take the hot tub, including the stairs, gravel, and tub out at 286, I'm down to 6,058 square feet. And if I take the two landings at the base of the stairs out for another 42, I'm actually down to 6,016 compared to the 6,047 that was approved. So everything else with the house was built as it should be built. And I think that, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be dealing with this tonight. The fence, the deer fence.
Go ahead.
Okay, so another thing that got put up was a temporary, when it was installed, deer fence. I know that that's not really a good term for a deer fence with trees, because it takes like 10 years for the trees to get to a point where they will survive the deer if they even do then. So this fence is up now. It has been to the architectural review board. It was approved there, but since we're dealing with site plan, we've included it in all this. The yellow is the location of the deer fence as picked up by the surveyor. The blue line is the property line, so you can see that it is inbound to the property. It comes closest up here where we're 3.58 feet away from the property line, and we do understand that the property owner that's back behind here is not really thrilled with the appearance of this. And I've had communication, and we want to work things. I've talked with Charlotte Benz, the owner, and she's interested in trying to get resolved so that they are not unhappy with what they're seeing. Here are just some photographs that show what I think does look like a temporary fence. And I think that's part of the problem. I think it needs to look like something that's a little bit more substantive. For the most part, it does wind through the forested areas fairly well. But when you get up to the house back here, it's actually much more, it's not as concealed by the foliage. So that's something that just needs to be dealt with. And as you come down, it's all behind the house. So once you get to the front of the house, you're not seeing any of that. And you don't really notice it when you're going by walking past on Halsey Pond, because it's a little bit up the hill. So it's got a setback, and there's a lot of growth there. And that's everything that I had that I wanted to show tonight. And obviously, I'm sure there are questions.
I wasn't sure what you meant by there was several items that you were subtracting.
Just in other words, yeah, go ahead.
Does that mean you're uninstalling them? I didn't understand.
Well, we tried to actually uninstall the hot tub. There were guys who came over to do that. Just because it's an awkward situation to have something that's in two things. We'd have to build more right now to make it legal to comply with code, and we don't have approval for what's there. So the goal I had, and the homeowner was trying to make it happen too, was for us to take the hot tub and put it in the garage and approach this as which it doesn't make a difference. I mean, you guys, as you've made very clear on numerous applications, just because somebody's built something doesn't mean that they get to have it. So we understand that whether the hot tub survives this or not is a matter for this board to decide. It doesn't matter whether it's up or not. We're still trying to get that to be moved. It's harder to do than I guess I thought it was. Obviously, people were able to get it in, but I understand that before it was put in, when it was put in, we didn't have some of the landscaping that's now in the way of getting it out. So they're still trying to figure out how to do that.
I just don't understand the subtraction. And even if you were to take the hot tub out, the footings, there's still coverage underneath it.
Well, there's no concrete. It's a gravel counts as coverage. So if the hot tub was removed and the gravel was raked up, then it would not have there wouldn't be anything there. No trees or came down to create it. So that.
Are you proposing to actually remove it? It wasn't.
I was proposing that it not be on the site when I came before you. I just thought that would be a more comfortable presentation to be making. So I was trying to get it removed. The homeowner was trying to get it removed. They were unsuccessful. We were dealing with it as recently as this morning. So I'm still trying to get that removed, but we still want to make it part of the application. And if the board deems that it's not a problem for neighbors or, the character of the site, then I'm sure they would like to be able to reinstall the hot tub.
Well, since I'm totally confused about what you just said, the hot tub and the gravel and everything you said is going to be included until you say it's not. I mean,
correct.
Physically, not just, we're not going to include it. I mean, when you agree to physically remove it, then we won't count it. But right now, because I'm totally confused of what you tried to explain.
Okay.
So let me finish, because there's a big item on the coverage needs to be discussed. Doug, there's something about oversized lot.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the application, it mentions the 7,000 something square feet. But it should just be corrected. I mean, it's the oversized lot based on 80,000 square foot lot, and it comes out to be, around 5,500.
Yeah,
And even, I think it approved at the ZBA is 6,003, not 6,047. I think your point was that it was approved at the planning board at 6,047, but that's not what actually got approved for coverage.
yeah, I don't remember what the number was. I remember that there was that change. I don't remember what the original number was with the ZBA. I know at one point we actually said 6,400, and that was what was on the data sheet. So I don't know if I mean, there's no doubt that what the planning board approved was 6,003. So that's that's what we have that number on, and then the other number is 6,047. The only reason.
I think the opposite, Patty. The planning board approved it at 6,047, and then after that, the ZBA approved it for 6,003. That's what I read, if I recall.
So currently,
yeah.
Hold on, Patty.
Yeah, we can look it up.
To get it straight in my head, because it's getting very. So right now, the only coverage you can have is what the zoning board said, which was 6,000 and what? Three. So everything over 6,003, including everything that's there now, because you didn't agree to take it out. It is, so we had, what was the number? The highest number sitting up there is 6,813.
Correct.
So that's a little bit over 6,003. So that's a considerable variance.
Yep.
And until you can make a presentation, are the numbers all correct? Doug?
No, they're kind of all over the place. It's
So nothing adds up. You need to sit down with Doug or Ed.
Sure.
Ed had to leave on a police matter, but he's familiar with what's going on. You need to sit down with either Ed or Doug, straighten out the coverage issues, and definitively say what may be removed, because right now there's nothing definitive about removing anything, as far as I could see.
The objective would, the ideal for the homeowner would be that we would get 6,813 square feet approved, but I have made it clear and they understand that that's a reach. And we have to, there might be ways that can work. But that would be because we did other things that would make it not have any adverse impacts. I got Doug's memo. The good thing was I didn't see anything that was talking about, problems that were being caused by this, other than we've got more than what we're permitted to have. And that's a problem in and of itself. But that's what our focus is.
Okay.
Yep.
Don't get locked into 6,813, because it's my understanding that number may change.
I think it said, also, wait, it does, but there was something, it said, a drainage issue that Doug raised. It said that, you have to provide drainage calculations to verify that the, additional coverage won't
create drainage.
Stormwater system, so.
Sure.
Well, I just went through, all those things you were adding, and in the beginning, this 21 feet, 40 feet, and I came to 894 square feet, which was what I had come to too on the written submission. So I don't know, be careful with the numbers.
Sure.
Yeah, that's why don't get locked into 6,813, but that may be higher, because when one adds all these up, and Doug is going
It should be higher.
he's going to critically look at it. So it has to be correct before it go anywhere near the zoning board. Now, here's another embarrassing question. How did it come to be that nobody realized that you might need approval for this additional coverage? I mean, it's not like the previous owner did this. It was the existing owner did all this.
Correct.
And how did it come to pass? Were you involved in all that work that put the extra coverage beyond what's approved?
The parts of it that I was involved in directly and responsible for is restoring the stone terrace that was there already, and needed to be brought, attention needed to be brought to that. And then we tried very hard. That's why I did this math. If I take out the stone terrace and the hot tub, the things for that, we're actually, we're very close to the number we're supposed to be. So even though I'm including the extras on things like the retaining walls, our total numbers on all those things add up to approximately where we're supposed to be. If we're high by, 10 square feet or something like that, and then probably can make, if we take out that landing that's in front of the gate, we probably bring ourselves under the 6047. But that's not including the stone terrace or the hot tub. And
All right, John. God, yes, you're gonna confuse me more than I already am.
okay,
Anybody have any more questions? Yeah.
Well, I noticed in Doug's notes, the hot tub is referred to a pool,
correct.
a pool, the pool. Is that any different? Like, does that mean it gets treated differently?
It's all the same as a pool, that's why.
But it says it has to be emptied in the winter,
It's all the,
so it can't be used as a hot tub in the winter.
I mean, it could, I'll double check.
Okay, I
But it
was
is- It's
confused.
all like the same pool stuff that we,
Okay,
all the
okay,
notes and all the stuff are the same.
okay.
Oh.
That was one question. And then my other thing is, I don't know what will happen with the final square footage and a variance, but if you want to include the hot tub and if the homeowner wants to keep the hot tub, then make that part of your application. And I wouldn't take it apart right now, and I would wait and see what happens. I personally, I don't know, it is a lot of square footage, but all the moving parts, like, figure out your numbers first and go for what you want, and then it'll get, picked at and figured out.
Yep.
You can't go to you have to come back to us at least once to get the numbers correct.
Right. Well, the main thing, I think that's the first step is to work with Doug and Ed, get those
Thank you.
numbers right.
That's it.
Dan,
No question.
Okay,
Mike,
I have a few questions. So, Patty, when was the hot tub installed?
About a year and a half ago.
So it was after the approval of May of 2022,
Yep.
right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
And it wasn't, I think the answer to it's gonna be yes. It wasn't shown on that application, right?
It didn't exist at that time. We were not aware that they wanted to do that.
Okay. Now, the email, we got something from Ms. Bin, which indicated to me that she didn't want to proceed with the hot tub because it was installed at the insistence of her husband, which they're now subject of divorce proceedings. So I don't know if it's a former husband yet, but does she want to proceed with legalizing the hot tub, or is she now saying since it was installed by my former husband, let's say, I don't need it?
I'm not uncomfortable with a lot of things, but I'm uncomfortable whenever it gets to marital arrangements. I'm not sure of the answers on that. I will have a direct conversation with Charlotte on that. I know the main thing that she wants to do is to get the project finished and to get a C of O on it. And that's one of the reasons that I had suggested that we make, whether or not there's ever going to be a hot tub, a future concept, not a existing conditions concept. So I'm still trying to figure a way that, there has to be a way that they can carry something out if they were able to carry it in. And they could store that in their garage, and they could have that at some point. And at that point, I'd feel like we were in a better position to talk about, is there a negative about having a hot tub? I understand the confusion with pool and hot tub, but that doesn't have anything to do, I think, with us having to empty it or things like that. It's that we have to have the safety requirements that this is now classified as a pool because it has, I'm not actually even sure, it's less than 16 inches deep and it's less than it's 65 cubic feet of water. So it's like I thought it was actually under what triggers pool, but Ed produced the drawings that show, or the code that says we need to have the pool fence, we need to have the pool gates. And when it comes to safety with kids and things like that, you don't really want to, say, well, I think we can get around it. So I'm just assuming that if we have a hot tub, we're going to have the fence. It could be attractive. It could have landscaping with it. There's no reason that would be a problem as far as I can say. The what to do with Stone Terrace, I think, is the you know, it's the stranger thing. I mean, that we didn't even know that that was there until we took all the mud away.
Right, so when was that?
That was about a year and a half. That was when we were starting to do, or maybe a year ago. It's when we were starting to do the landscaping, and as we came around the house, we were aware of the fact that we had a water issue where water was coming down and able to reach the house. So I wanted to regrade that so that we'd have a pitch away. And as we started clearing off what I thought were random stones, kind of more like a stepping path with stones about 2 feet apart, it turned out that that was all buried in the mud. And so we dug it all up. We cleaned it all up. We didn't need to bring any additional stone in. We just made it narrower. And then we used gravel to go from the, from the walk to the house so that it would not hold water against the house.
So when was this house built?
I think 1875-ish.
Okay, so in May of 2022, when the application was approved, what was the square footage of the house at that point before it was approved for 6,003? What did it go? What was it being? Was it expanded?
The house was expanded to create the tower that's on the front, and the square footage of the house. That's the part of this that hasn't morphed in some way. The house is what was approved by the board both times. The original and then the May 22nd. So what got built in terms of the house, the rooms, the footprint, the deck, if anything, certain things got tightened up a little bit because I was able to lose the 114 square feet of additional retaining wall in the 6047 number. So we were tighter with some, as I mentioned before, the deck on the back deck and stairs actually got smaller than what were there before. So everything with the house, everything with the decks, the stairs, the garage, all of those things are compliant. What's not is the stone terrace, the hot tub, and what makes up the big difference that closes it are those 2 stair landings that we did not originally have, but we were told that we had to have a 3-foot landing at the bottom of the stairs, that we couldn't step off the stairs onto the grass.
So
and we agreed. We did that.
We've made a point, especially, I know it's not exactly comparable because it was new construction on 50 Half Moon, 50. Yeah. Where, this was approved for 6,003 square feet. If the stone terrace and/or the hot tub had brought to the attention of the planning board, they may have decided that this square footage had to come off someplace else. It may have affected the garage.
Yep.
So, it's not just that something was installed without approval. It's that we didn't have the opportunity, we didn't have the opportunity to weigh in on this covered square footage versus something else. So,
understood.
Yeah, okay. I have no further questions.
Before Michael Fugo goes, you were talking about possibly taking the hot tub out, put it in the garage, and get square foot without the hot tub approved.
Yeah.
And then I would be afraid to think about next year you coming back, put the hot tub back in, and these incremental increases of coverage are not going to cut it.
Right, I agree.
Segmenting and it's frowned upon. A little cut at a time, death by 1,000 cuts, as they say. Okay, Mike Fugo.
Yeah, Pat, I'm not sure if you have the answer to this, but Doug, maybe you do. You notice the difference between the planning board approval square footage and the ZBA. We also know if there was a particular issue and why the ZBA had it come down from what we approved, because
I don't think that actually happened, but I'll review the file on it. I think yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Speaking. Please don't interrupt.
We're speaking to Doug.
Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mike.
So the reason I ask is to the point that was made just before this, having gone to the ZBA with any of this pre-existing stuff, if they came down if they made it go down for some reason, then I can't imagine why they would have not building the same exact thing, regardless of what the original number was, even if it had gone through the planning board at a higher number. So
I'll
there's
pull a
the,
file and circulate.
yeah, that to me is actually a really important part.
I'll pull a file and circulate.
Okay.
Mike, that's an important point. If they pulled it down to 6,003, is there an expectation that they'll allow something higher than 6,003 this time around when they brought it from 643 down to 603? Good point, Marty.
If I can, I have a brief thing on that. Is it okay?
Speak.
Okay. I've got the letter that was went to the zoning board for that hearing. It says the project has already been to the Irvington Planning Board for site plan review. The issue with the fact that this is an oversized parcel has been identified in that review, and the planning board has directed us to the zoning board of appeals for variance. As proposed with a site coverage of 6,076 square feet, the project will exceed the permitted coverage for this property of 5,521.46 and by 554.54 square feet. I think that was actually what was approved. I think the 6,003 was us just tightening things up with the planning board, and maybe the reason that there wasn't. If we got approved by the zoning board for 6,003 and we came back to the planning board for that 6,047, I think the planning board would have said we have to go back to the ZBA then. I think the reason we didn't have to go back was because they approved the 6,076, and we ended up asking for 6,047 in 22.
Oh, that's perfectly clear. Doug, what does our record say that the ZBA approved? Or Ed?
I see here that I wrote July 21st,
We have to pull
2021 for 6,003, but yeah, we'll have to check.
We'll pull the files and we'll get it. We'll give
Yep.
you our version of a flow chart.
Okay. I guess there were records of what the ZBA approved,
Yeah, we don't have all that stuff here.
but it's certainly less.
I'm not gonna say a word till I look at it.
Yeah.
One more comment. Patty, you were saying earlier about removing things and putting it in the garage. I just want to make sure it's clear for myself and for the rest of the board. You meant temporarily remove because you didn't want to come in front of the board with that already installed. You mentioned something that sounded like that, and I want to make sure that when we say remove, if we're not really mean remove from the application, let's maybe use a different word because it's super confusing to say that.
Right. I just felt that it would. I've gotten to know the chair for maybe. I'm trying to figure out maybe.
The sentiment,
years?
I totally understood, Patty. I totally understand this. It's just the word is I think confusing people. So if that's the sentiment,
yes,
great. That's very nice that you tried to do that. But if you mean, hide, just more of a,
wait, what is it? Hide it in the garage for and then we'll put it back up after it's done. No, I think there was.
Make sure it means to take off the application. Otherwise, we're going to continue to get really
right.
Okay, great.
Yes, sir. That's good.
Lori.
I just think that I heard what Caesar said about instead of segmenting and taking the hot tub off and then coming back after everything that else has been approved or accepted or revised, and then a C of O is given, and then coming back, you might have a harder time getting the hot tub. But I also hear you saying that the goal right now is to get a C of O. So I think you have to speak to your client and figure out what the long-term goal is and proceed with that in mind, because otherwise I feel like you've almost wasted a month here by coming this time without having a clear goal in mind, getting a C of O or getting a C of O, getting a plan approved with the hot tub. Like it's going to be one or the other, because if you come back, it's going to be considered segmenting, and that is
I wasn't interested in segmenting. I'll be very candid in this. I thought it would be a demonstration of contrition if we didn't have it sitting there in front of you and assuming that we would get it. If we took it down,
I don't think that matters. This happens all.
It didn't happen, so there is no, what I wanted to see happen didn't happen. We're at where we are at this point. The application includes the hot tub. We're better off probably just, as you said, just follow it through and see where it takes us.
Okay. And I want to reiterate, this usually happens that the previous owner did it and the new owner is stuck with it. I am pretty surprised that the current owner has proceeded beyond what was approved previously. That's a little surprising and what's the word?
Well,
Disappointing. I should leave there. That's disappointing. Okay, we'll go through it again. Lori, anything else?
no.
Dan?
No questions.
Mike?
Nothing further.
Mike Pafuco?
Nothing for me.
But we didn't go.
And Mike Pafuco made a very adequate point. If the ZBA knocked it down before to what it is.
Yep.
We expected them to go higher than what they knocked it down to previously, might be a stretch.
Right. I don't think that happened, but we'll get that straightened out so we make sure we know of it. And I think this meeting had to happen first before we could get anywhere else. So I think this was the meeting I anticipated as a first meeting.
I hope it was exciting.
I'm thrilled, Caesar.
You have anything from the public on Zoom?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak and there are no comments in the chat.
Okay. Patty, I hate to ask this, but do you have anything to add?
Not a word.
Good night. Say good night. All right, Patty, thank you.
Thank you much.
Oh, brother.
I know.
Okay, we're moving on to the new submittals. That's number 11, 2024-15, 1 Deep Hollow Close.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Great, great. As I say, good evening. My name is Bill Witt. I'm the architect for the proposed project at 1 Deep Hollow Close. I'm here tonight representing the current homeowners, Marco Batro and Emily Masouche, in support of their application to expand their house. What we're proposing on this application is a 2-story addition to the right side of the property. Basically an extension of the house, an extension of the roof line, matching materials. You probably noticed when reviewing the application, there is a pond. I believe it's the Ardsley Golf Club in the.
If you think can you share the screen so while you're talking we can look at it?
Certainly.
And if you don't have Verizon and you can use your cursor.
Yeah, I'm just noticing that there's a. I'm trying to share my screen, but it's not allowing me for some reason. Let's try it again.
Sarah, can you help him out?
I think I'm there, Sarah.
Looks like you're
Just
getting there.
bear with you 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. So here you can see this site plan and the proposed addition on the right-hand side that's shaded in. You can see how it's just an extension of the house. It's essentially going to be the ground floor coverage is 340 square foot. So that's the extent of our additional coverage. There's some existing decks in the front, side, and rear of the house. We're not proposing to extend decks along this side or the rear. In fact, the addition is actually built over, it's going to be built over some rock outcropping. If anyone visited this site or looked at the pictures, there's some large cropping here where the majority of the house is actually built on a rock ledge, and we're going to be extending that here. In the back, you can see the pond from the Ardsley Golf Club. It is on the property in a small portion. High water levels have been determined, and I've got dimensions. The existing house, I believe, is about 99.3 feet from the high water line. Our proposed additions, 94 feet. So we understand that there might be a wetlands permit required in addition to the other approvals that will be needed. I think I made note and in my application, and it certainly was in the response that I received from Douglas Hahn, that we are over on lot coverage. Even though we're only adding 340 square foot, the existing house is slightly over, and that 340 pushes this over. Part of the reason why there is a lot of coverage, and I'm going to provide at the next meeting a more detailed plan showing you how the breakdown exists, but there's a lot of gravel areas on the property, gravel walkways. The house is quite a bit set back from the road. In fact, you can't even see the house from the street. When you pull up to the address, you notice a detached two-car garage, small parking area, and then there's kind of a boardwalk that navigates up across the slope and gets to the house, which is set back a little further. This might be a little bit easier to see with some of these pictures. This is the view from the street. This is from standing on top of the knoll midway through the property. You can just see on the side here where we'll be extending it, the opposite side of the house. And this is the side of the house where the addition will occur. And then some other photos. These are just some pictures that I took. This is, where is this? Oh, this is just looking at a neighbor's house. The rear property, some of those graveled areas and stone walls you're seeing in this picture. So a lot of it is just hardscape that makes up the majority of our coverage that's pushing us over the edge on this one, unfortunately. Let me go back to the site plan. But like I said, we're building approximately 680 square feet. That's going to be on 2 floors on this side of the house. 340 square foot is our increase in coverage. Some of the comments, I reviewed the comments that I received from Hahn Engineering and Nolan Landscaping, Landscape Architecture, and I'm pretty clear on them. I might reach out if I have any further, need any further clarification, but they seem pretty straightforward. I believe I put the Coltex in the wrong position. They need to be 10 feet away from the septic field. There's some additional information.
Much further than that.
Is it more than
It's
10
not-
feet?
Yeah, take a look. Oh, we can go over it later, but you're gonna
Yeah,
have to
I'll point out
relocate.
Yeah, and when you relocate them, that whole area is rock.
Yeah.
So if you move
Yeah,
it further.
I
further
really
to-
can't go uphill.
No, you can't because you got to set the field there. So you're gonna have to. I'm not sure. You're gonna have to look elsewhere.
Okay. Okay.
That was
Yeah,
one of the main things that may be a deal, may be very important as to whether, because there's rock there in the septic field. They say it'd be a rock in a hot place.
Yeah, to say the least. This area here where I'm just running my cursor is where the I envision the access to the site would be, because if you see the site, there's very few places where you can access. I don't know how this house was built actually, but there's room on the side where they have had people come and service the property. So there's a trail that I'm going to show in the plan accessing the site through the right, where it is grassy. Most of the rock and field is up to this point. There's
Well,
there's some grass.
the second critical question was going to be construction access. So you already got that.
Yeah, I'm going to address that. We've got a plan in place because they had to access it with materials in the past, and that's how we'll be coming through. And we know we'll be able to avoid the septic system and the critical root zone of the trees in the area. Not a lot of room, but room nonetheless. I think what might work to our advantage is that no real heavy equipment is going to be required back there, because this addition will be built on a rock ledge. It will be pinned and formed to a rock ledge. So we really, I don't even imagine we'd be able to get an excavator back there, and I don't know if it's even required.
Okay. Go ahead.
So that's basically it. Like I said, I did receive the comments. I will be reaching out to Hahn Engineering and Ms. Nolan just for some clarification, but I do expect that I should be able to respond to the comments that the board and the consultants had at our next hearing.
Okay, as you said, I think you said that the coverage that you articulated is you might need, there's additional coverage, that access coverage that you didn't cover. At least we think so. So that's something you have to go over with engineering and Ed.
Yeah, I actually did. I did a new drawing that I didn't submit, obviously, because I just received, and I will. All of that will be clarified, and we are spot on with the amount of coverage. But I will be submitting updated information.
Okay. And the next plan should have, you know, the route for the construction access so that our landscape architect can take a look at it and agree with you about the root zone protections that you're going to provide.
Mhm.
Unless, another one is height. We were a little, you didn't really show the height. Could you bring up the elevation for the
Yeah, so this is what a hypothetical front would be if you could actually ever see this house in its entirety. There is rock ledge up here. This is the level of a deck, which is about 18 inches off the ground in the front. The existing front door to this house is actually set down about 4 feet, as if it was a split entry. So part of the project is to take the lower deck and raise it up to the level of the main deck and raise the front door at the same time. So there's no increase in coverage, but you can just see the outline of the existing deck, the existing grade. This is an existing retaining wall, a flat level area, another retaining wall, and then the rock outcropping to the right.
on the far right, or I guess that's the western side. You didn't show the total height from grade to the roof ridge. Ed, you want to explain that?
If you can do the height according to our ordinance, not according to average heights or gutter heights. Ours is 35 feet from the highest to the lowest of the periphery.
Highest to lowest. Okay, I'll make sure I provide that.
When you go down a hill, the house gets taller without getting taller.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you didn't show it on that. If you slide down, yeah, you don't, right there, you don't show it to the peak of the roof. You show it, as Ed said, the
Yeah, I'm
average.
showing you from average grade to mean roof.
Yeah, you got to show it to the ridge.
Okay, so lowest point around the exterior to ridge.
It's 224.3. I added it in my comments as well.
Yeah, I was actually looking at that while I was waiting to be heard. I didn't see it, but I'll go through it again.
It's in definitions.
You have to read the definitions.
Okay, all right. I will verify that and make sure that I provide that information before the next meeting.
You mentioned the water course permit. You're correct. You need that. This may not be, pertinent to the current plan, but when you come up with the eventual location, hopefully for the drainage system, the piping to the drainage system currently goes through the root zone of a tree that may impact a tree. So when it's not only the construction, any pipeline going to the system needs to try to avoid the tree roots.
Yeah, I saw that in the comments, and my initial impression was to try and move those proposed leader drains further away from that critical root zone, getting it out to the perimeter as much as possible.
Yeah. Yep.
It may require me to split the dry wells up to put maybe a hole in the rear and a pit in the front, just to avoid some of the critical root zones in this area.
And since this site is pretty rocky,
I'll look at that in more detail.
We want some test holes.
Yeah, you're gonna need test pits. I think it's gonna be maybe tricky to find a spot on the site. The steep slopes in the rock and the septic.
And we don't
Yeah,
want
it's really.
we don't want to approve a disposal system, and then you go to dig it in this rock. And then you're stuck with an approval that's not going to work. So any proposed location for that drainage system would need some test holes to make sure it is what we think it is.
Okay. Okay. Once I work out the ideal location for this, we'll look into getting those tests done.
Right, to make sure it truly is ideal without rock. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, is your presentation complete?
It is, unless you have any more questions or comments for me.
I wanted to go to the questions. I didn't want to go before you were finished. Laurie?
You have your work cut out for you.
It does. If you've been to the site.
I have been.
Yes.
It's a rock mass. It's
Yeah.
very impressive with the rock. In fact, I got out of the car and I was looking down and one of your neighbors came over and said, "May I help you?" So you're very close knit up there. Because he was wondering what I was doing looking at your house.
He's looking out for his neighbors.
is a good neighbor.
No question.
Mike Smith,
Nothing further.
Mike Bafuco,
Nothing from me.
Sarah,
Nobody's raising their hand to speak and there are no comments in the chat.
okay, thank you very much. It was a nice presentation and it's a rough site, but you appear competent to handle it, so.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Could I ask one question before I
No.
disappear? I'm
No.
unfamiliar with the I'm unfamiliar with the process of obtaining a wetlands permit. Is that something that gets dealt with via the planning board, or is there another agency involved?
It's us. Doug, you want to cover that? Ed?
We'll discuss it. We're gonna be talking.
Yeah, I could send you the
Yeah.
section.
It's through the planning board. I mean, it's part of the planning board.
Yeah.
process.
For your submission here.
Yeah, just missed the application and then we.
We'll go over it with you in offline. It's easy, but it's.
Okay,
tonight.
okay, I'll follow up with you on that.
Yeah.
Okay,
We
thank
have
you
a-
very much.
We have enough boards without creating a wetland board.
Agreed.
Used to be
agreed.
environmental conservation board, but that got folded into the landscape architect, which comments to us, so
I see.
it streamlined it a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
If everybody can hold on for 5 minutes, and we'll take a 5-minute break until 1/4 after, which is actually 3 minutes, but that should be long enough. Need to stretch my legs.
Harlan's the house.
80 degrees.
Yes.
What? We're still recording.
We're still recording. Ours have any questions? That's not bad. But the new police officers very on this one. That's exactly. No, it's Amazon.
With that being said.
I was not opposed.
Our John's very excited.
Sunday at 6 o'clock, I had my car through. In fact, that's the person forward, drove through 123 apartments.
And then
I mean, I unplugged the garage door so they can't open the water. They went through.
Well, I think it's a huge lot. You know, there's a thing in the code for oversized lots that, if you look, there's this code section that reduces the amount of coverage you can.
There might have been a little spot of hand. So.
Yeah.
I think that's some of the pertinent information on the plan. Change it to just the zone instead of the zoning. It's the part. That's what the zone, the oversized lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that a bunch of the lot. Yeah, square foot wouldn't be in that share.
Yeah,
It is.
but-
Yeah. I just need what she needs to. Are you wanting this? You were giving me just the environment.
Live through it. She's not been yelled at and accused of things.
We're canning some. Well, we try to take them.
I don't take it off the patio. They're still up with numbers. Then she looked. Take care of
You know, we.
I'm not on.
Yeah.
My daughter's.
I don't think it's a long back. I don't think there's any relation.
Well, there would have to.
So I would
In this town.
say on.
Could not. Cousin.
He's like, I didn't watch the tape. So
He was.
she's had an update. So.
What's it, last year? Never got slow. But it was always like. Well, It's not mainstream, it's other, you know, siblings. So he was like. Yeah, you know what, this picture, that's the picture from I remember.
He's way younger than, I mean, I graduated in 2002, so it was a couple of 5 years behind me, so.
Oh, really?
Mhm. That's what I did read.
Yeah.
Recognized me. I'm just having trouble placing. him.
Something. And I said, my daughter's saying, he wasn't expected to look that. Yeah, put it there. That's what I'm saying, he always, she's, you know, could get along in society, but.
Yeah.
So he plays his music, you know, struggles with music. Not anymore. Yeah, they moved, the whole family moved up upstate somewhere.
Oh.
No, that's too much. 10 years ago. Maybe.
Yeah.
Just too much. I think it was the condition. I gave you I had problems with trying to crap.
Yeah.
That's a field condition,
Yeah.
but not.
Well, yeah.
Well. Personal background.
It was a crazy presentation. Yeah, it's a crazy presentation. I just think you have to be direct and decide what you exactly want to try and do better. Are you're on the zoning board?
No, architecture.
Oh, you're on ARB, so how come you're here tonight? Because
Just looking to see what's coming.
oh, because you don't usually come that.
Well, I used to.
Ah,
Stop for a while, because I have
oh, I.
found a little bit of a life.
What's
And I'm
your
only here
name?
now, that's I'm Rick Rizzuto.
Rick, I'm sorry, Dave.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I'm only here because my wife's in Norfolk, so.
You do something in jail?
Pretty much. Beer and wine, so I'm sure.
Everybody ready?
Okay.
Okay, we're back. Good to get outside and get some air. Okay, we're at number 12. 2024-14, that's 23 Park Road.
It's fine here.
Hi there.
Hi.
How are you? I am representing the homeowner, Jeremy Tark, for the application for site improvements for 23 Park Road in Irvington. My name is Susan Janeshaw. I'm a landscape architect with Aspect 120 Landscape Architecture. And this is our first time bringing this application in front of the board. So I will hopefully share my screen. Okay. You should be seeing my screen now.
It looks like it wants to,
Yeah.
there you go.
Okay, excellent. And are you able to see my cursor as well?
Yes.
Excellent. Look at that. It's working. Okay, so the application is to remove a deck and its railings and in its stead put removing a over 1,000 square foot deck, in its place putting a 575 square foot patio, and replacing the existing hot tub with a new hot tub. You're looking at the existing site conditions, the survey. You can see that maybe it's not quite as impressive, but it's a pretty impressive rock outcropping, as we have here in Irvington. You can see this is where the rock outcropping is. This is the house here, and this is the existing wood deck that we want to remove. Couple of other interesting things about this property. You see the property line goes down here, that straight line up and down. The property appears when you're on it to extend beyond that because the neighboring property has a fence that goes along here. So while that's not on the property, it seems to be on the property. So that's what makes it also a little bit more confusing. But let me elaborate a little bit. So this is what we're proposing to do. We're proposing to take down the existing deck that you see in this dash line, add patio on top of the rock outcropping, and a couple of just revising some walkways that exist now. We're just making them a little bit cleaner, and then putting in the hot tub right here. This drawing here is the original intention of the master plan that we put together to figure out what the different pieces of improvements the homeowner might want to do. So that's really the conceptual plan. This is the application that you have in front of you, the site plan that we submitted. You could see in this picture the rock outcropping in the backyard with that the deck above with the railing here from the south east, I believe. Again, looking at that deck from the lower part of the property, the house is beyond there. And I have
If you could blow up that picture that you got the
yeah,
cursor
I
on
actually
now.
have it in a couple here. This is easier. Just so you know what we're looking at, there is the deck. Here you see the rock outcropping up close. This is from the driveway. Looking at another angle towards that deck. There's that rock outcropping that we're talking about. And there's the deck that we want to remove. Currently, there's a hot tub on the deck, and the machinery, the utilities for that hot tub is underneath there. So there's some room we have to work with if we take the deck off and put everything back lower onto the ground and onto and off of, basically removing the height here. We're actually making it less visible from neighboring properties because we won't have that railing anymore. One big thing is that the deck right now, basically it just feels very claustrophobic to walk out of the house, and then you have to walk up a couple steps to get to the deck. What we're proposing to do, and that's what the space that's underneath the deck right now. So what we are proposing to do, to go back here, is to, again, remove that deck and put in a patio area. Where is the site plan? Sorry. There it is. Where's the actual site plan? Got lost here. I don't know how that happened. It's probably on another slide.
We didn't find a site plan to be.
What was that?
There was no site plan submitted. There was no site plan labeled as submitted.
What, L2 wasn't submitted?
No.
Maybe that's why you can't find it.
Maybe that's why I can't find it. That's really strange. I mean, I don't know why.
We asked Tug to find it too. We asked Tug to find it too.
That's it right there to the left with it.
This is that grading plan is what it is. There is an L2 that should be in there.
No.
Just a
You're
second.
Could you show the photograph of the existing deck from downhill? Yeah, right. Where that, or go back to where it was, where that person, if that's a person, where that person is standing is where the new deck is going to be.
There is not a new deck. There'll be a new patio.
I mean, a new hot tub.
The new hot tub will be where that person is standing. Yes. So the upper edge of that hot tub is going to be around just a little bit higher than the top of the deck right now. So everything is going to be brought down lower.
And the rock that person is standing on is not going to be an issue with the hot tub.
No, it's going to be on a slab, so we'll just have to level that off. Let me just show you. I'm confused. Wait one second. I'm just gonna find this for us right now. Yeah, was this not in the application? Ed?
I don't recall seeing that. That says layout, doesn't say site plan, so it might have been.
It's layout plan.
Let's move on because we
Okay.
have a lot. We got
Yeah,
a lot
so
of
this-
small
this
that
is-
added up.
What was that?
Yeah, just let's move.
There's a couple of other smaller issues that we need to.
Right. So just
you
to
can-
let you know, this is what we're proposing, having a paved patio at 2 levels, one at the level of the house sill. And the other one goes up 2 steps to the top part of the rock outcropping just by using stone to make that all happen. So the couple of issues that were brought up in the letter from Han Engineering. One is that we need a variance because while we are reducing the impervious surface from the existing conditions, it is above the allowable. That said, it's on top of a rock. So there's no imperviousness on this property, but we understand we have to go through the process that's according to the code. So we will need a variance to get approved coverage for that. The second thing that the engineers said is that we need a 20-foot setback, but I believe we need a 15-foot setback. Is that not right?
In the pool code, there's 20 feet.
In the
We
pool,
have a separate section of the pool code. You're missing a lot of those items in there as a general
okay, so
comment.
that is what I'm not aware of, and I heard Patty talking about it earlier. Was that more recently? When was that?
Yeah,
Added to
Yeah,
the
the hot
code?
counts as a pool.
yeah. So the hot
Right.
tub is a pool. It's
But
either
is
a
it-
waiting.
Patty was
swimming.
saying there's a new code. Is that an Irvington code or a state?
He's talking about state codes. That's a different issue.
Okay, that's the
So-
2020 code that he's talking about, right?
We can get into details later. It's not for
Okay.
this board. But the coverage, the fencing / ladder that you're using won't be allowed in the 2020 building code. It's also fencing is required in the village swimming pool code. You could read that.
Right.
I
And there is fencing around the entire property. Is that not enough, or it has to be fencing around?
No, the fencing will have to be detailed, but you can't have a fence on someone else. You can't use a fence on somebody else's property as your pool fence.
Okay, got it. So
Because you can't-
even if it's a pool fence for that property? Because
No,
of-
because they can take it down anytime and you wouldn't have a pool fence.
Got it. So you have
You don't have,
2 fences, one next to the other.
You can get a license from them, but if you want, but each owner is responsible for their pool fence.
Although their fence is way off on their property.
Yeah, and that's another thing. You have some improvements on their property that are on this application. We don't want to be approving them as a incidental. You have a walkway, a irregular stone walkway
Landscaping.
and landscaping shown on your
Yeah.
application.
That's another thing I didn't understand. We don't have any,
Go to your landscaping, your color landscaping plan shows landscaping. I don't know if it's proposed or existing on the parcel. It's not yours.
the parcel, that we're not doing any work on the parcel here.
But yeah, so
Is
those,
there landscaping on that?
This is existing.
you go to your landscape drawing, you show that parcel being existing or proposed landscape.
Color one.
The color one.
Oh, the color one?
Yeah.
You mean the conceptual plan?
There you
The
go.
pretty.
The pretty one. Right, and that's just the conceptual plan. That wasn't even submitted.
Okay, yeah. So we need all this, we need all the improvements not shown or removed from that property.
Well,
We can't-
we're not proposing anything. This is existing, this
Yeah,
exists.
I said, I'll say it a third time. We cannot approve this plan with stuff shown on someone else's property that benefits this property.
Okay. So.
And while we're
Let
talking
me
about property
clarify.
that, while we're talking about property that belongs to others, you have the same situation on the driveway.
No, they have an easement for that, see?
You got an easement for that? Okay.
Yeah, it shows an easement.
Okay,
Go
so,
ahead.
so how do we, this is something that I believe that they moved into the house and there was shrubs and stuff here, and there's this little slate
Yeah.
area here.
So the hardscape can't be shown on your plan.
Okay,
Okay, or you have to show us license or easement for it to be there.
okay, when you say license, is that a legal thing that an attorney would have to draw up?
It's, yeah, we can't approve something. We would be condoning intrusions onto your neighbor's property by approving this plan the way it's submitted.
Right, and I understand what an easement is. What do you mean by license?
You can have your lawyer through.
So it's an attorney thing.
It's an agreement.
It's similar, it's
Somewhat
just a
similar.
different form of an easement.
Yeah.
Now, Susan, do you know why, why they get to use that other property? I mean,
Well, let me show you, let me just show you a picture of it. The reason why they get to use it is because the neighbor, why is this so big? Let me,
Did this come up at closing, whatever?
I am not aware that there was ever a discussion about this.
Did they buy the?
I wasn't even
somebody-
aware until we got the survey that this wasn't their property. But what this fence is on the neighboring property. And I think it's just due to the topography, that's where the neighbor decided to put their fence. So it's a privacy fence. There's not much landscaping here. There's incidental landscaping here. But that said, I would think that they could make an agreement with the neighbor to get license. I just don't know what that is. So I just have to know what professional to ask about that. So I guess it's an attorney that the homeowner needs to ask about that.
I'm not clear. Why does she need to get any agreement for that piece of property?
If she's gonna leave it on the plan.
Just take it off the plan.
Right, that's what I was just gonna say.
Just,
Can't she
just
cut
take it off the plan.
White it out.
Basically here in the survey, just don't show it on the survey, like just take that piece.
We can't tell you what to do, but if
Yeah,
you're gonna leave it
yeah.
on the plan, we need license or easement.
Okay, you got it.
I mean, because the way you're showing it is it's suggesting it's part of your property.
Right,
It's not.
right. I understand.
Recognizing it's not part of yours, so I would,
So
I-
just make a submission with your property on it.
right,
Yeah.
Okay, only the property will be on there. Got it.
I don't know what adverse possession ideas that.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. The little bit I know about land use law, it seems like adverse possession, but,
Just show your lot.
okay, you got it. We will do that. We'll just show the
From
lot.
experience, adverse possession is not that easy.
And I don't think anybody cares to. Anyway, it's really not something that needs to be too much looked into. Most of the comments on the letter we're good with. We're gonna bring in an engineer to stamp and to put it in all the information on the hot tub and get the hot tub up to the pool code for Irvington. That's what I need to find. I understand that now. And we will probably try to get the variance for that 15-foot setback if possible. Let me just see if there was any other question I had for you before I just pass it on over. No, I think we got everything that I had answered there, and I'll probably give a call to Ed and Doug to find out
Yeah.
some more details.
While you're talking to them, there's the fence issue in to the rock side of the new location for the hot tubs. It's going to be something you have to talk to them about. And since you were within the side yard setback, there's screening that has to go there, which you might need, you should talk to our landscape architect, Susan Nolan, because I don't know how you're gonna do screening. You can't plant plants in rubber.
Right.
Where the new is going to be is where that person is standing. And if I'm standing on the opposite property between where that person is standing and the property line is going to be screening, and that's all rock.
Right.
So,
And really from the opposite property line, there is no view of that because there is a fence there.
Yeah.
But, you know,
well, need to discuss the screening and the potential for screening with our Susan Nolan, the landscape architect. And you need to show us construction access. There's a step down from the driveway. Let's see. All right. And a grading plan. You asked for the grading plan,
Yes.
right, and the one thing about the grading plan is we do have we have a grading plan. Really the detail of the existing grades underneath here is unknown because it's under a deck right now. But it's all just rock outcropping that's gonna be leveled to these elevations. So I could try
We're
to
more
provide,
concerned about the grading underneath the pool spa deck. How you're gonna level that. That's more what we're concerned about.
okay,
the location of the new.
Yeah, the hot tub spa deck pool, whatever it's called.
Mhm.
It's in a very steep slopes. It's kind of hanging off the rock a little bit when you showed it on.
I
So we
think
want to
that's
make
what- I believe
we
what's
need
gonna happen is we're gonna create a slab right underneath it on top of this rock to level it off.
you might be moving it another foot or two away from the property line just to miss that outcropping.
Right, okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Landscape architect, do you want something from an engineer about that slab?
She's building a structural wall.
Okay.
Which she's not doing yet.
Right. Well, we're gonna bring in an engineer either way, so we'll discuss with them what they think needs to get done. Are we able to go to the zoning board of appeals before bringing in that engineer, or do we need to bring that engineer in before going to the zoning board of appeals?
Well, there are other issues.
Yeah, we have to get the plans a little buttoned up before we send you to the zoning board.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that would be an expense that you could avoid until we're happy with this. Yes, because we do that. I don't want you to spend money and then wind up with a disapproval.
Right, exactly. That's, I'm trying to do it the most efficient way. Yeah, and I believe we can get to approval. I mean, just for the basis that we're making it better. We're making it less visible. We're making more pervious surface. So there's no reason why we couldn't, I wouldn't think, couldn't get to an approval here. You know, and figure out the fence like that. It's all stuff that could be figured out. Because if the only variance needs to be, you know, 5 foot closer to a fence, to a property line and
okay,
but over impervious surface, I would think we could get that piece of it done.
okay. Doug, and she's correct, there's no issues with coverage. The only variance is the side yard setback.
Oh, covered. That was coverage too, wasn't there?
It is coverage, but we're reducing the impervious surface.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's just a different location of the coverage. So yeah, that's it.
Coverage is.
Yeah.
Still up, so you need a variance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we could go to the zoning board of appeals, we'd like to just get that over with and make sure that they're okay with it. Before or while we're getting the engineer involved.
Numbers correct enough, but
No, we need to button up, because we might have
well,
other
we
issues.
need a site plan. We need to have a
The
site.
site plan, we need, let's button up those numbers and a few things on the plan to make sure it's doable, the fence issue. We don't want to send this plan to ZBA. We'd rather send the plan you were talking about earlier.
Okay.
Okay, let me poll the board before we.
No.
Lori,
No questions.
Mike Smith,
Nothing further.
Mike DeFluco,
No questions.
Sarah, anything?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak and there are no comments in the chat.
Okay, you understand what you need to do. I would suggest you set up a meeting with Ed or
Mhm.
Doug.
Yep.
And cover the tightening up the coverage numbers and discuss the fence and the issue of being close to the edge of the rock.
Yep.
And the construction access, you go down your driveway and then I think there's a retaining wall before it drops off into the backyard.
Well, what it is actually just steps. They're just gonna have to do it by hand. They're gonna have to just carry it up. There's no way of getting a vehicle any closer than it is.
I didn't think so. Okay. All right, just articulate that. and we'll be fine.
Okay. Yep, we will do that and we'll get in another submission before the next submittal date.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much.
Moving on to number 13, that's 2024-13, 2 Deep Hollow Close. Shocked, it's another hot tub.
Good evening. Excuse me.
Good evening, we see you.
Okay.
And we hear you.
let me, share my screen. Matt Behrens, I am representing Nathan and Margaret Munitz at 2 Deep Hollow Close. This is an application to remove part of an existing deck. As you can see, it's indicated here, and to add a freestanding hot tub on grade. The idea between removing the part of the deck was to have a net decrease in coverage, since the owners were aware that they are over, and wanted to basically do the right thing by decreasing the coverage as a net decrease. Unfortunately, I was not aware that the gravel base that we proposed around the hot tub counts as coverage, so I didn't include it. So we will either remove that, or I will redo the calculations to make sure that it still results in a net decrease. The hot tub itself is completely freestanding. It's prefabricated. It's just going to be placed on the site and hooked up. There's no excavation required. As you can see, there are no trees that are being affected. So it is, impact-wise, it's fairly benign, except for the fact that we are still over the allowable coverage. But again, the application is proposing a net decrease.
Okay. You heard the line about the fencing that's needed.
Yeah, and the site is fully fenced. I will include the details. That was something that was pointed out by Han. But so we'll provide those details. And also there are some sliders along here that do lead out to the deck. Those will be provided with alarms. So we will address that.
And is the fencing, I mean,
We have to see the details on the existing fence, and
Yeah, I'll provide those. Yeah, they're
screaming from the neighbors.
And also, if you remove the gravel, it's, even though it's coverage being removed, it's still a change in coverage, so you still need a variance.
Understood. Yeah, I think the owners were just trying to, do the right thing by showing a net decrease, but I understand.
oh, I see. Okay, you have, off the back of the house, you have some fencing with a gate.
Correct. Yeah, there's
Those are-
an existing fence and a gate here. There's an existing fence and gate here. And the back side of the property is completely enclosed with a fence. It's also pretty steep, and it butts against the Ardsley Country Club. But I will provide those details.
Yeah, the locking details and
Gates swinging out, locking details,
and
self-closing hinges,
what about the house? There's details on the windows and
the house alarms and the window alarms.
We will add those.
coverage. Okay. That's about it for me. Lori?
No questions.
Dan?
No question.
Mike Smith?
No questions.
Mike Pafuka?
Nothing for me.
Sarah, anything on the Zoom?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak and there are no comments in the chat.
Okay, thank you very much. I think you got your homework. Do you have any questions further that
Yes, so I guess I'm coming back next month and then we'll go to the zoning board for the coverage.
That's correct.
Okay. We'll do that. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. I'm moving on to the last one. It's 9:45.
Take your time.
Number 14, 2024-12, 8 West Sunnyside Lane.
Hello, I assume you can all hear me. My name is Niall Kane. I'm the architect for it's a project on 8 West. Hello? Yep, Sunnyside.
We have,
Yeah. And I'm the architect, Niall Kane, for Michael and Diana Haddad, and we are proposing a new detached garage on their property. We try to share screen. I can't see a share screen button here.
you got to touch the screen to make it come up.
There we go. Got it. Okay, got it. Yep. And then hold on one second. There we go. Okay. You see the screen? Are we good?
We're good.
Yes.
Okay, this is the property 8 West Sunnyside right here, the little red dot, and it's adjacent to the aqueduct. It's on the corner of the aqueduct and I guess the southwest corner of the aqueduct and West Sunnyside Lane.
If I'm not mistaken, Congressman Piper's previous home.
I'm sorry?
If I'm not mistaken, it's Congressman Piper's previous home.
Oh, I don't know. Michael would know, I guess. I don't know. The owner would know. Anyway, this is just another site plan from the GIS, Westchester GIS system, showing some context, the aqueduct and so forth, and the adjacent properties. This is the house in question. We're proposing a detached garage right in this vicinity here. It doesn't block any views because it is to the east of the house and it is lower. It's about this high, which you'll see in a moment. This is the front of the house. This is just looking up from West Sunnyside to the east from the sort of northwest corner of the property. This is looking down from the corner of the aqueduct and West Sunnyside, and you can see it's pretty well screened. The garage is going to be in there somewhere. This is the back corner of the property. Would be the southwest corner of the property looking northeast. This is the back of the house. Again, the garage is way up here. This is a little tree house, which is sort of will come into question later. And this is looking at the back of the yard again. And again, looking right from the aqueduct down onto the house, the garage is here, and the proposed garage is here, looking from the aqueduct. So again, doesn't block any river views and so forth from the aqueduct. Just looking up the street, looking along the aqueduct, looking again to the south along the aqueduct towards the adjacent properties. And across the street, which is, there's no houses seen across the street. There's that big sort of estate back there. Again, the existing site plan, garage we're proposing goes here. This shows the proposed garage. It's a two car garage, excuse me. We're also proposing a little greenhouse structure on the back of the garage, and a pergola element that sort of connects the garage to the house. There's a little small portion that is covered just to protect from the elements as you go from the kitchen to the garage. Again, this is just shows the stormwater management system and site details and so forth. Were some comments. Well, let me go through the look of it first. This is the proposed elevation of the garage, elevations and plans, 2-car garage, a little workbench in the back, greenhouse, paved zone, here walkway along the west side of the house. This is the attic space, unfinished attic space above the garage. And again, the elevation, looks to the, this is the west elevation and east elevation. You can see it's kind of nestled down into the ground as it relates to the aqueduct view, potential view from the aqueduct. This is the back elevation showing the greenhouse area, and of course the front with the garage doors. This is more of a context of the entire house. This is the existing house. This is the proposed tucked back from the face of the existing house. Again, this is the east elevation, the existing house, and the proposed garage with the greenhouse in the back. You can see sort of the difference in height of the existing to the garage. And this is looking towards the garage as if you're sort of just between the existing house and the garage, and looking at the little pergola element. As I said, there's a little covered portion here, section through the garage and through the greenhouse structure, and some details. There were a couple comments of Han Engineering that we had, I guess we hadn't included the little tree house in our coverage calculations, and we had to make a little adjustment on our calculations. When I talked to Ed of how we calculated the coverage of the pergola, I had actually calculated the impervious coverage of the paving below the pergola, all of which is to say it puts us a little bit over, about 98 square feet over the coverage. And I know the owner wants to keep his treehouse for their little kids, so we want to pursue a variance for that small little bulk area calculation. There were some other small comments which we'll discuss with the engineer. One was to put a little pre-treatment storm filter pre-treatment tank in, which we're doing. We also showed the floodplain, a little bit of a floodplain area, the 100-year floodplain. I think this will hatch like the 500-year floodplain, so we've shown that. Other comments were pretty straightforward, I think. Oh, well, one other comment which I did not realize, that we have these very low-level lights, which I'll show you in a moment, that just spread out a little bit of light, but they said we need a variance for that, so I thought we just remove them. That are in the aqueduct setback. One thing I didn't mention is that we are honoring, of course, the 30-foot buffer required at the aqueduct for the proposed garage structure. Again, details, and we have this is the product. It's sort of prefabricated product, and it gets assembled on the site. For the greenhouse, sample of the garage doors, windows, and some nice, we're proposing some, nice, obviously screening, planting alongside the aqueduct and the garage structure. This is the little light I mentioned, which just spreads out a little bit. We are proposing a few of them just underneath the pergola, which will be nice, but not within the aqueduct buffer zone. I guess I'm going through this a little quick just because it's late, but if there's any questions, I think I've covered the long and short of it, so to speak.
Yeah. You all set?
Yeah, I mean, if you have questions, I think I've like I said, I've covered all the salient points.
Okay. I don't think the treehouse is on the plans. You should show it.
Oh, the treehouse is there.
Oh,
Yeah, it's there. I just didn't, whatever. Didn't think it was. In fact, in the Hans engineer,
I thought it was closer to the aqueduct. Okay.
All right, it's right there.
We need to do further work. I don't think it's going to be an issue, but you need to demonstrate it's not an issue on view preservation. It's not.
Right.
I'm glad you looked at it from the point of view of the aqueduct, but there's two houses to the east of the aqueduct. You need to do some view lines,
Yeah, Yeah, that was one of the comments. We'll certainly do that. And I think we're all good as far as that goes, just the way it relates to those houses, but we'll certainly illustrate. We'll
We have
illustrate.
to satisfy the code by demonstrating that it's not.
Of course, yeah, no, we will do that. Yeah.
And you gotta fix
Call in the
the,
morning, I can go over that with you.
and you gotta fix the coverage numbers in the file.
Yeah, actually, well, I did that in this presentation, but obviously we're gonna send those.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Finish the view preservation, give me a call in the morning, we can go over what you need for the view preservation. So
Okay,
we can get.
that was a little unclear. That'd be great. That'd be great to do that. Sure.
Need to take your camera out again.
Yeah, I do. That's easy with all our phones. We just snap pictures. Easy to do.
I just want, to ask in terms of FAR and the square footage, it seems like that wasn't necessarily calculated because I saw your comments, you're asking for.
Yeah, it'd be helpful to have actual diagram where you show the existing and the proposed, so we can just double check it off.
Oh,
Do
I
you
showed,
think-
yeah, I showed all the existing,
Yeah,
Looks like it's.
except for the
oh, you know what,
98.
I didn't include that. I'm sorry, I have
I
it.
did mention it, maybe slightly over, but yeah, it was definitely close, that's
It's
all.
close.
Yeah.
Okay.
Already covered.
I do have those.
It's over a little bit.
They're not on the drawings here, but I did submit those. I thought anyway. We'll do that. And then the FAR we're well under. We're fine. It was just a matter.
He had
of,
to add the garage, second floor too.
yeah, I hadn't shown the unfinished attic as FAR, which I should have. So that, but we're fine as far as that goes. That's not a problem. And as Ed pointed out, it allows them to more easily finish it later on, having counted it as FAR if they want to do
Yeah,
that.
it was recent when they put something on the,
They did that.
Screen
the
porch.
the
Screened in
screen
porch.
porch, and before that, they did the left
I was
side where
right.
they turned the garage into part of the house.
I remember
Okay.
the house.
Okay,
Right.
as long as it's not this.
That was on Durham Code.
it's an involving plan.
Yeah.
We have to be careful of segmenting,
Well, that's why we got the question.
but it's
Okay,
relatively minor, but
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That's it.
I'm all set.
Dan,
Thank you.
Mike Smith,
So I have a couple of questions. You currently don't have a garage, right?
They turned it in.
Currently, no garage. There was a garage, it was converted.
So Mike, during COVID, we knew they were coming in for this and we allowed them to infill their garage.
We allowed them to what?
Building department allowed them to infill the garage. It came during COVID and they needed it for enlarging the family.
They have a big family, yeah, with 4 children,
So-
if I'm not mistaken.
So we knew that they were.
We knew they were coming in for this.
Did we know that they would be proposing the garage being put where it is?
Yes.
We did. So the wall of the garage is literally on the 30-foot buffer line, right?
Yes.
Well,
so-
yeah, I mean, it's angled a little bit, of course, but that little point right there is 30 feet and then there's a little wedge, right? Where the setback is.
So-
And this wall is all existing, by the way. All of this is existing. We're just removing some of the driveway and removing some of the wall in order to, tuck the garage up closer to the house.
And all of the greenery that you show there, is that screening?
Yeah,
It's shown-
proposed planting. Yeah.
That's, all right, because when you walk down the aqueduct now, where that garage is going to be put, that is an totally open area. So putting in this garage is going to be very noticeable.
Yeah, well,
He did ask for the view preservation, so that he's gonna provide photographs with the existing. and proposed.
yeah, there's no view issue, but we will, like I said, certainly illustrate that.
The planting in the buffer itself is not an activity that's prevented by the buffer, right? I mean, it's
it's
sort
get
of,
technical, but I'd rather see the planting there with that, Suzanne approved or look at.
okay. I have no further questions.
Would you discuss with our landscape architect your choice of plantings there?
Sure, yeah, they're non-invasive planting, but absolutely. I didn't get any, well, I don't think I got any comments.
I don't think we had it.
We'll do
avoid-
whatever she wants.
Okay, Mike Fuco.
No questions for me.
Sarah,
No, it's just I'm here to speak and there are no comments in the chat. Just saying, yeah.
I think we're done. Ed, you got anything?
Good.
Mary Ann?
No, I don't have anything except I just want to mention about Nolan's comments. She did have some, they just by mistake.
We'll get to those tomorrow.
Weren't attached to Doug's memo, but.
I'll look out I'm sure you'll send them. I'll look out for them. I don't think I got them, so please send them again if you. I just got Hans Engineering's comments.
One of our comment probably is that you talk about tree protection. There's details for tree protection, but it's not shown on the plan.
Yeah, there's no real tree to protect. That kind of is a mistake, unless I didn't think I had the detail. I noticed that myself. This is a very big tree here. Otherwise, we're not removing any trees, of course.
If
I
you
don't
had,
think there's any.
if you were to put,
Sorry.
you were to put detail of tree protection around that tree you just talked about.
This one?
But
Yeah, we can do that. Sure.
And any other tree.
That's a beautiful tree. Yeah.
Because contractors could, back up a
Fair.
bobcat.
Good point. Good point. Better to be safe. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, anything else? I'll ask again. Anybody?
No, thank you.
Okay. You have any questions about what you need to do?
Well, I'll talk to Ed tomorrow or whenever, next day, whatever. Yeah.
Okay, we're done. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Good night. It's 10 o'clock. Time to go.
The meeting of May